Welcome back to another episode of Didi Got a Podcast. I'm your host, Didi, and I am accompanied here by the one and only Brian, the Auditor. I appreciate you all for tuning in for another live stream. I just want to ask, as always, to please hit the like button on your way in. This will be a break from Charlie Kirk for just a little bit, and we're going to talk about something that may very well much so, not only impact our life, but impact our life in the near future. Brian reached out and was telling me about some things, and I had actually saw a clip on X that I'm wanting to play here at the very beginning that I'm wondering that Brian may have saw as well, of this lady talking about the debt that we're in and the way in which we're planning to pay off the debt. Brian, are you familiar with this clip that I'm talking about?
No.
This is perfect. Okay, so we're going to be discussing that, and that'll sort of kick off some of the things that Brian wants to share with us. Before we get into that, I want to state as well, this is very important, that Andrew Wilson has apparently challenged me to a debate. I guess he saw my debate with Warren Smith, and now he has officially challenged me over on Twitter to a debate. His wife, Rachel Wilson, has had some words for me. And so at the very end of the live stream, once we get through this extremely important topic, I'm going to just share with you all what they had to say, and I'm going to give you all my thoughts, since there's quite a few people now that's wanting to quote unquote debate, or as Warren Smith called it, have a conversation. And so with that, let me go ahead and share my screen. We're going to play this video first, and maybe it's not related to what Brian wants to talk about, but I believe that it is related, actually. And we'll see. I think this is the video. Let's see. Hopefully I won't embarrass myself by playing something that it's not, but I think this is the one. So let's take a look.
Official, the U.S. just admitted it, which means no one is safe from what's coming next. Not your wallet, your paychecks, your savings, your cost of living. In fact, life as you know it is about to change. In case you missed it today, the U.S. announced that we are buying back our own debt because nobody else wants it. I'm a monetary analyst. It's what I do for a living. I study the dollar. And a year ago, almost to the day, I predicted that yield curve control was coming, which is essentially when the U.S. Ponzi scheme really kicks into high gear, and is exactly what we're seeing today. Instead of the Fed issuing new currency to buy the debt, the U.S. Treasury is issuing more debt to buy our existing debt so we can keep issuing more debt. And if that sounds confusing, it's because it is. You don't need to know all the technical details. All you have to know is that the media is going to tell you that this is not technically quantitative easing, that inflation will not rise because of this, but do not be fooled. What they're counting on people not realizing is that yield curve control was used here in the U.S. during World War II, when spending exploded and there were no buyers of debt. So what did they do? They said, we'll just buy our own debt. This will guarantee the interest rates won't rise that much, because the second they do, we'll just keep buying all the debt. Which sounds great in theory. They saved the system, but guess who paid? Everyday Americans. In just a few years, inflation jumped up to 18%. Can you afford if every single bill in your life jumps up another 18%?
What?
But not only that, the debt today is 10 times what it was during World War II in real terms. That means inflation adjusted, meaning that today's fallout would be far worse. We could be looking at not only double-digit inflation, but far greater than 18%. What this is really telling us is that the U.S. is growing more and more desperate, and that they're having to step in at a much more frequent rate. And every time throughout history that a country has had to do that, it always results in higher inflation for the citizens. Now, to be clear, what's happening today isn't technically yield curve control yet, but it is the first sign of what's to come next. And if I were you, I would be paying very close attention to what's coming next, because every dollar you have, whether that's dollars in your wallet, in your bank account, your paycheck, they could be devalued like that.
I'll be the first to admit that, first and foremost, I have a very good friend in my personal life who, and I've spoken about this before in the past, probably to you, I'm not sure, Brian, but I've definitely shared with the audience before that I have a personal friend who watches the channel, and it still bothers me because I met him when I was in graduate school. So whenever I'm reminded that everyday people that I know in real life watch my channel like you all do, it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable sometimes. But he watches enough of the content to know that I don't spend nearly enough time talking about this. And like I've shared before, he's given me silver and he's told me multiple times that I need to start investing in these sort of deals, silver, gold, because we're about due for the system to crash and for us to start working from a different financial system. And so I'm assuming that something along those lines is what you wanted to talk about based on your email, but I know very little about this, so I'm going to be learning with the audience today. So yeah, go ahead and take it away.
So kind of crazy seeing that. A couple of reasons. One, that's well, it's two things. It's exactly that, which the key from that is the government buying back its own debt, like she outlined. And then
By
number
using
two, the
debt.
treasuries. And we'll get to explaining all of this. But basically, the American economy runs on debt. And the government sells debt. Everything's debt based. So that's part of what I wanted to explain today. So we truly have a real understanding of how this works, because I don't believe everyday people understand how this works, which is by design. I don't say that insultingly. I say that it's on purpose. I went to school for finance. They didn't teach any of this. They intentionally mislead you, even in college, as a finance major. So take one step back. The government just hit 40 trillion in debt, meaning how much they owe out, plus what she just said. That was the impetus for me thinking, what a great time for us to get an understanding of what all this means. After seeing that video, I'm wondering what's the best way to approach this. A, should we do what I thought? Maybe I'll just break it down. Or B, should we break down her video? Uh-oh, someone froze.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on your end or my end, but you were breaking up really, really badly. So the last maybe 2 or 3 sentences you said, I didn't hear any of it. I don't know if the audience did or not.
I'm just checking my internet connection. So I look okay. Am I okay now?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll get back. What I was saying was, I didn't know if the best approach for how to do now today's video would be me just do what I thought to do, or like break down that video we just watched, meaning like in detail, watch it back, stop it. What does this mean? How does it relate? Or I could just do what I had in mind, but because they kind of go hand in hand. She says a lot of things in that video. She talks about real wages. She talks about inflation, talks about debt, all things I felt critical to cover today. Because I believe in the saying, walk before you run. We can't just jump into understanding the system without understanding the fundamentals. We have to understand, because all by design. This is all by design to trick us, manipulate us, make it more confusing than it needs to be. And I feel like, we should break it down. We should break down these terms, break down how we got to where we are.
Let's do that. I'll replay the video and I'll stop. You just let me know when to stop it. And even if that means we stop the video 60 times, 100 times, you just tell me whenever to stop so you can explain what needs to be said. Because audience, once again, I'm in the same category with you. I'll be learning with you all today, instead of sharing information that I just learned. But my apologies if my eyes were a little bit off to the side. I was a bit busy, and that is I was busy adding the link in the description to somebody's new YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
You want to announce that just in case somebody don't click on this video or watch it all the way through?
Announce. Yeah. So I, like a minute before this call, I just set up the channel. So naturally there's no like profile picture or anything there yet. However, I thought it's an opportune time, because I was overwhelmed by how many comments. Hey, where's your channel? When is the channel? So I kind of missed out. So my thinking was, now let's get it at least up and running. And then Didi had another idea, because this video is so complex. Maybe my first video could be a live stream answering questions coming off this video. Okay. So today, if I say something that needs to be flushed out more, maybe I address that on my channel.
Yeah, sounds good.
Just an idea, it's where I thought I could add.
I don't know if YouTube, I have like 4 channels, but the most recent one that I've started, I'm not exactly running that channel, so I forget how it works. But this also, I don't think will be a big problem for you, because we'll be able to get you there in no time. But usually at one point in time, when I first started my YouTube channel 6 years ago, you would have to meet a certain threshold before you're able to go live. So going live is a privilege on YouTube. Everybody can't do it. Yeah, you can't just start a YouTube channel and go live at one point in time. So somebody said second subscriber. So look, let's go ahead and plug this the right way before we get into this. Brian the Auditor has officially started a YouTube channel. This is a really, really big deal. because for very good reason he hadn't started it 7-8 months ago. But had he started it 7-8 months ago, I think he would have probably had more subscribers than he would have been comfortable with. So maybe this is good for him. But if you are rocking with any of his content, or if you are just now finding my channel by way of any of my recent debates or some of my recent topics or collaborations, such as Jesse on Fire, let me tell you who I'm sitting beside before he gets into it. Brian the Auditor, for those of you that don't know, was the very first person to break the sort of Doge style audit of TPUSA. Of course, as many of us know, many of you all followed me through the whole Charlie Kirk investigation, if you will. We know, based on the memo that Candace Owens released, he was issuing a Doge style audit, that he wanted that to be done. And as we know, that was never conducted. Well, Brian the Auditor, fortunately, had already been working on excuse me, his own personal style Doge style audit of TPUSA prior to September 2025 anyways. So when all of that took place, it just so happened to be the right place, right time, right person, right situation. And I was just fortunate enough to be the sort of the vessel that he used to share his work that had it stemmed back well before 2025, by the way. And so if I can remember, I'll definitely link that in the description, because that broke the internet by my standard. I've never had a video to this day have such an impact the way Brian's video had on the internet, on Twitter. And I didn't even post it on Twitter. It was everywhere. Everybody was clipping it, reacting to it. So that is just one of the things that he's done. He's done incredible work on this channel alone since that point. And so with that, I'll try to link all of his stuff in the description, since he has officially started his YouTube channel. And I would really, really appreciate it. I don't care if I just get 5,000 views on this video, 10,000 views on this video. Typically, the more complex a video is, the less people that will click on it. And depending on how complex it is and what it's exposing, the less likely YouTube will push it into the algorithm. This is something Brian and I are already anticipating may take place. Therefore, I'm going to share the link to this live on both Twitter and on Patreon to get it over there to the 10,000 of you that's Patreon members. Link is in the description to the Patreon, by the way. And so with that, I would appreciate it if we can get at least 1,000, 2,000 of you to go over there and follow him by here over the next couple of days. I think that would be incredible. So Brian, take away. You want me to go ahead and play the clip, or you have something to say?
Just quickly, I'll say the way I'm planning on doing the channel, live streams and pre-recorded will be my deep dive sort of thing. So how you said, like the turning point thing, that would be an example of the type of video you would see on my channel by myself. And who knows, maybe that brings me back on here. We have some cross collab, as I'm sure we will, but that's kind of the plan for the channel. Live streams, maybe reacting to something going on in the news, answering questions from the audience, and my deep dives. One thing I would add, Didi, since this is a complex video and I've never done I'm not a teacher, I've never done a video like this before, I would encourage everyone watching to leave a comment in the comments section. Critiquing's fine. Something you didn't like, something I could have done better, something positive. Just any comment's going to be helpful. And you have my word, I will be reading these comments, because the only way I can get better in a complicated video like this is, what does the audience think? Did I talk too fast? Should I have explained this more? Things like that will be helpful. Again, I'm a little not worried, but I've never done something like this, like a deep dive into how our financial system works, with not a lot of notes in front of me, because I didn't want to sound robotic. I just kind of have like a very rough headline of an outline. So, but this is very important, though. Maybe the most important video we're doing.
Ooh,
it is. You need to understand this. This is more important than the WWE drama sort of stuff that we talk about, because this is real. Just like what did she say in that video?
I guess my first question before we get into the clip is, what was the number when Trump came back into office his second time? Was it 36 trillion?
Yeah, because
39?
34, 36.
I just refuse to believe that's the number. We've went up $4 trillion in debt since Trump has been back in office.
Well, just this year, he's running $2 trillion deficit. So deficit means, right, more spending more than you take in. So if it's just $2 trillion this year, and I don't know what it was, 25, let's say 1.5, then right there, that's $3.5 trillion. I think it's on pace 2.1 trillion is this year's deficit. So we're worse than COVID. I want the audience to understand this. COVID, they told us, was once in a lifetime. That's why we had to print and spend so much money. The U.S. is spending more now because COVID was just a way to financially reset the system. You were lied to. Because the U.S. should be spending less now. If COVID is once in a lifetime, why would you be spending more now?
So hold on, just break that down in layman terms for us simpletons. So
Sure.
when we say COVID, we always refer to COVID for the sake of this particular conversation. COVID is 2020 to when? Like, what's the end? 2022,
Yeah, but
2023?
in this case, I mean literally just 2020, but the spending kept going. But I'm saying in 2020, let's back up. Trump shuts down the country, and around April, he starts screaming about something called the CARES Act because they always use nice language to get you to want to accept it. But if you read it like I did, all it was an upward transfer of wealth. And so what Trump did was he printed.
Businesses.
What was that?
Was it businesses that got the money?
Yeah, businesses, exactly. And the peasants got a few breadcrumbs.
I remember that.
Well, businesses literally got trillions of dollars. Instantly, when Trump did this, I knew he was bad news. I got destroyed by MAGA because I said Trump just created inflation. I said it that day, and I got heat for it because, you're supposed to, and that's part of what we should explain today. When I say Trump created inflation, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean?
Right. What does that mean? Created inflation? You mean like created another round of inflation?
Hyperinflation, meaning we inflated more than ever. Because if you're going to give the rich trillions of dollars, how are you generating it? Did Trump raise taxes? No. He just printed the money. You see, so that's how inflation is created. You're inflating the currency. You're expanding the currency. If they would have raised taxes, it would be even. They would have received enough money to give out that money. They didn't do that. They hit a button on a computer. They moved over a bunch of zeros. They transferred it to the rich. And now all the assets go up. Home values go up. Food goes up. Cars go up because there's more money in circulation.
But help me understand how this works. So I do remember in 2020 when this happened, a lot of people, typically left-leaning people, were not fans of it because they were stating that for the very reasons you're stating, this is going to cause inflation. So to be fair, you were not the first person I heard say this. However, we received $1,500 checks. We received $1,500 Pell Grants, if you will. So that is to say we didn't have to pay it back. My understanding, however, and correct me if I'm wrong, that big business received the money in the form of loans, correct?
I think that was only small business. Small business was PPP loan. If you're Amazon, I don't recall that. No, that was just
giving the money.
They tried to spin it as they weren't, but I don't ever recall any proof of these big corporations paying it back.
I see.
And on top of it, to make it worse than that, they also got 0% interest. So now Amazon can turn money into more money.
We're going to have to fact check this. We know this for a fact.
You mean that they didn't pay it back? I guess we would never know 100% for a fact, but
what about the interest, the 0% interest? Do we know that?
That's part of what we have to explain here. But what they do is they leverage it. So they take that money and they just compounds it and compounds it. And that's how they make more money. See, if I'm a billionaire and I have 0% interest, I can make more money off that than you can, right? Because you don't have enough money. It's like a snowball effect. Whereas they can take it and just and that's what they did. We could probably just Google it quick. Look at how much trillionaires made or billionaires made just from COVID to now. It's something like 30 plus trillion in wealth. That's insane because that's all they did. It was just a game of leveraging 0% interest, leveraging Trump, giving them money. Another thing, by the way, Didi, that's more important, what they did with the money that the corporations got, they bought back their stock. So if you hand company money, they're supposed to maybe hire more employees. Instead, they bought back their company stock and you saw stock prices go up. This is a game they've been doing forever. When the government gives them a handout, they just repurchase their own stock. So Amazon stock goes up, Apple stock goes up. The technical term is called stock buyback. If someone wants to Google it, and it's as clear as day. They're legally allowed to buy back company stock. And so they do that. It's just a financial engineering game to drive up the stock price.
So just so if there's somebody in the comment section that don't fully grasp this concept. So a business will receive money from the government. Am I right so far?
Correct.
They'll take those funds, whether it be in the form of a loan or however, 0% interest or regardless of the interest, and they'll take all of that money, most of that money, some of that money, and then they'll go into the stock market and buy their own stock.
Yeah. No.
How do we know that the business is doing it? So you're saying like not the individuals.
No,
you're saying they buy it as the business itself.
Yeah. And we know because they report it. So I'm taking it right from the source. Apple will say last year we bought back X amount of stock. Now, the trick is they'll tell you we did it with our own money. They're not going to say they did it with government money. However, how do you know? Because if you track it, every time the government gives them money, the stock buybacks are record highs. That's why I'm assuming that's it, because that's the pattern.
Is it illegal for them to use the funds given to them by the government to buy stock? Is that why they're probably not honest about it?
You don't have to explain it, so they would never know. You know what I mean? If a company spends money, they don't have to say it's government money versus money we received off selling an iPhone. So that's how they get away with it. They don't have to say where they spent them, that I'm aware of. They don't have to. But the simplest way is I would just track it. I would track when they're getting all this money. What happens to stock buybacks? It's record highs.
I see. Okay.
It happened in 2019 was another time where they got a lot of money, lower interest rates, record that year again, record stock buybacks. We're about to see more. It's just a game. It's a game to drive up the stock price. And, that's why the stock market's fake, but we'll get into that later. But it's not based on something real. It's based on what I call and others call financial engineering. You're just engineering the system with all these little tricks to create the market to be higher than it really is.
Which is a really long way of sounding like it's rigged. Which is also another
100% rigged.
It's not rigged? You said
no, 100% rigged. Not even like a little rigged. Completely rigged.
Is YouTube the appropriate platform for me to ask who the people are that's rigging the system?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Because there's a certain group. Well, maybe if we leave that part out and more say whoever the people are in charge are the ones who have designed this rigged system. So I don't know. I guess we can use our imagination for who runs the world and all of that. If you want to start with the Rothschild family, who early on bought up all the assets, and the Rockefellers and kind of got together and developed this system. But it's a completely rigged system. I mean, a company like Tesla, it's all fake. It's all based on just fake money, debt, tax breaks, subsidies, government handouts, and over time, and leveraging low interest, which we should talk about in a little bit. And all those games lead to these super high stock prices where billionaires can become trillionaires.
Okay.
But based off nothing.
And they'll be able to get away with it, or they've probably been able to get away with it for so long because many of us just don't understand this stuff. Like me, I have no clue. I have no clue.
Yeah, a couple reasons I would say. Don't understand it. The top influencers won't cover it. In school, you're not taught it. How would you know unless you learn on your own?
Yeah.
I had to learn on my own. I wasn't taught any of this. I had to pay attention to patterns. I had to read books. I had to think about it, study it and put the pieces together. It wasn't like an overnight thing where I just understood this entire, I don't know if you would call it Ponzi scheme, whatever it is. It took a long time to understand all the inner workings. And that's a conclusion I came to. Excuse me. It is by design why no one covers this. I don't think it's an accident.
Okay. Let's
keep us in like a financial fog of war.
Right. Let's get into the clip. You just let me know when to stop it.
Sure.
Official, the U.S. just admitted it, which means no one is safe from what's coming next. Not your wallet, your paychecks, your savings, your cost of living. In fact, life as you know it is about to change. In case you missed it today, the U.S. announced that we are buying back our own debt because nobody else wants it.
Maybe stop there. Yeah.
Yep.
So she's saying buying back own debt and no one wants it. So what does that mean? We have to think about how does the U.S. government generate revenue? And it's either taxes, small amount is tariffs, and the biggest amount is the government sells debt, which is what she's saying no one wants it. Let's walk through an example of how that would work. There's something called treasuries. They're also called bonds. That's the government selling an IOU. For example, the government may say, all right, Dee, right now, if you give me $1,000, I'll give you 10 years at 4.7 interest.
Wait, run that back. Say it again. Start over. Say it again.
Start over? Sure. So she was talking about the government buying debt.
Yep.
And so we have to first think about, how does the government generate income? It generates income 3 ways: taxes, small amount tariffs, and then larger amount selling debt, which is called a government bond, which is also called a treasury. So you may hear terms like T-bills, treasuries, bonds. Those are all synonymous with each other. Someone may say, an investment guy may say to you, hey, Didi, instead of buying stocks, consider buying bonds. When they say that, that's what they mean. You are investing in U.S. government debt. The government needs to raise money. The way they're going to raise money is give you an interest rate on what you're buying from them. Like I said, you're giving them, $1,000, like they're borrowing money from you is the way to think, but it's an IOU. They're borrowing $1,000 from you. And as a result of borrowing that, they're giving you a rate of return. 4%, 5%, depends on that.
I follow.
And it's based on years. You can ask the government for 3 month, 6 month, a year, 5 year, 10 years. You can go as far out as 30 years. So there's all different durations when it comes to buying this debt from the government. The risk of it is, if the government collapses, they're not giving you that money because the government defaulted. Just like if a bank defaults, if a business defaults, you don't get that money. So your first biggest risk would be if the government defaults. It says we can no longer service this debt. You're out of luck.
Okay.
Another risk would be when they start messing with interest rates. So now what if in 2 years the rates are much higher? Well, that means you could have gotten a better rate of return. If the rate today is 2% and in 3 years it's 6%, you missed out because your money is sitting in something that's giving you 2% when it could have been giving you 6%. This is the game that they play with people. So that's part of what she's talking about. And why should I stop? Do you have any questions?
No, you can keep going.
Okay. So why she made this video is because the crisis is the government can no longer sell this debt. So as a result, they're buying back their own debt. No one wants it.
So when she said that nobody else wants it, are there scenarios? And if so, can you give an example of when an entire nation is in debt and then it's bought by another country?
Yeah. So right now, I didn't look this up before the video, but offhand, I know it's China, Japan, and I think maybe the UK are the biggest debt holders right now of the US debt. So they buy a lot of it. China will look at the US interest rate and go, okay, I want some of those treasuries, and they'll buy. Then the US has to pay back China, has to pay back Japan, has to pay back the UK. So they're buying it. And what's happening right now is they're not buying it because they're feeling the interest rate they're getting is too low.
I see.
Remember how I said earlier, the rates fluctuate, and they're saying, you're not giving us enough money. I mean, enough interest rate. It's not worth the risk. Because as the US climbs in debt, the risk goes up of them defaulting.
Right.
Let's look at it this way. Think of your credit card. If you're in 40 trillion debt on your credit card, would a bank ever give you a mortgage?
No, probably not.
That's the exact same way to think of this. Why would someone now take on this debt if the US is in 40 trillion and it's going up at, like I said earlier, 2 trillion a year? That's significantly increasing the risk.
But from a regular person's frame of mind, this is what we're trying to figure out from the way we typically think, So if we're $40 trillion in debt, we were just at $36 trillion in debt 2 years ago or so. How are we able to continue to just print money? And when or what would stop the U.S. government from just continuing to print money? Because it seems like I would imagine, again, not knowing anything about how the financial system works inside and out, I would just imagine as a regular person, if we're $1 trillion in debt, it's time to panic. We got to do something about it. 10 trillion, it's like, okay, what's going on? 30 trillion, 40 trillion. How does that work, Brian, where, okay, we know when we get to a certain number, we know for a fact the country's going to collapse?
Yeah. So I think this happened in Greece, Venezuela, and other countries. So it happens as you go up in debt, you also go up in inflation. So at some point, your prices are just out of control and you have to collapse, meaning it's no longer sustainable. For instance, what happens if a burger costs $50?
Oh my gosh.
Then it's not sustainable. Then you have the opposite. You have deflation, which is what happened in China.
Right, but that's the
Yeah.
conversation we're currently having. Like I was telling you, they were saying the $20 burrito conversation that was taking place on Twitter over the past 2 weeks or so. That's a great example.
Yeah. Except my problem is no one explains how we got to the $20 burrito.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the symptoms of the $20 burrito. Hey, go to Walmart, or Matt Walsh saying, hey, go here to get it, or I can make it for my family. That's back to my earlier point of how come we never talk about how we got here. We talk about the symptoms of our current problem, but I'm more interested in how did we get to $20 burrito?
Right.
Right. That because do you ever solve the problem if you don't know how you got to the problem?
No.
I don't think you can unless you know how you got to the problem. And so, we could try and start there quick because I don't know, Didi, how much you know about it, but I strongly believe how we got to the problem is the Federal Reserve, the creation of a bank that's not even a government entity. It's just this independent private organization. So that's when I believe the country was captured. A lot of people say it was captured maybe when JFK happened or these other events, but I truly believe in 1913, they created the income tax and they created the Federal Reserve. And I think that's when the
right.
country,
That's
and
right.
I think that's when the country was captured.
So wait, how did the country work prior to that? So when there was no income tax, what was there?
Excise tax. So excise tax would be
Spell
if you
that.
sell liquor. What's that?
Spell that.
EX. Oh, you're asking me to spell on the spot. EXCISE. Excise. That should be how you spell it.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Excise tax. Yeah. So excise tax is, like I said, it would be on major goods that that company is selling. So liquor, tobacco, I don't know, wine, beer, cigarettes, things like that. So excise tax would be enough to fund the government because guess what? They weren't spending trillions a year. So tariffs and excise tax was enough to fund it. That was it. It was like that simple. And then if they ever did need a little, they had bonds. Back then, they may have called them like war bonds. So, if they're about to start World War II, they'll offer some kind of patriot bond, of course, because that's a sound, patriotic, like you're helping the country. And same thing, they would give you an interest rate. You would give them money. And that's how they funded everything. It was excise tax, tariffs, and bonds. That was it. You had a small government. You didn't have NSA, CIA, FBI, just the insane thing we have now on top of the insane spending. You didn't have them giving countries money like they do. You didn't have any of that. So that was more than enough. It was just the taxing of those companies, things. Like I said, liquor was a big one. And they funded the government with that. But
So prior we had excise tax, and you're saying we weren't spending as much, and we started to spend much more well after 1913. What is the official reasons that they give us they started to spend more? And or do you believe that, or do you believe there's another reason they started to quote unquote spend more money?
I believe this was always the plan from the beginning. They actually tried it in the 17 and 1800s, and both times the peasants rejected it because they said basically the people in charge can't be trusted to control our money. If you go back and look at very old newspaper articles, which makes perfect sense because that's what I'm just like today. I'm saying, how can you trust these rich entities in government to just control our money supply? So they tried it, they failed, and then finally they chipped away at it. And they pulled it off in 1913. The true goal was to get to where we are today. It's to create like a feudalist sort of society where you have peasants that are so poor and you have rich that are so rich. There's nothing left you can do.
And then what though?
And
But
that's how
actually, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I don't want to ask that question just yet.
But yeah, this is a long-term strategy. And if you look at a ton of stats that I have, it shows clearly this is a long-term effective strategy. by doing
It
what they
has to
did.
be.
Like,
And part of
yeah,
the
I mean, it
reason
definitely is.
I may or may not have shared this before, but one of the reasons why I figured this is a strategy is because in another clip I played the other day, this lady was talking about, she said, just sit back and just think about something for a second. So remember, they expect us to believe, because it is the case, that the people that are running this country, right, some of our highest ranking politicians in the country, these people in Congress, they all went to Ivy League schools. So that means, therefore, we're expected to believe that the smartest people in the world who have spent their entire lives, a lot of them come from families that was in this industry, in this world. We're expected to believe that they can't figure out the debt. They can't figure out how to fix this country. They can't figure out how to fix roads. They're the brightest of us all. How come the country is getting worse when the so-called brightest are the ones that's trying to fix it? Of course, it would only make sense if they're not supposed to fix it. And in fact, what they're doing, allegedly, is their job, which is to pretend and to leave us to believe that they're actually fighting so that we don't, rise up.
Absolutely.
And that makes sense to me.
Absolutely. It's, you can track it, like I said, and the entire middle class has been gutted and rooted out.
Mm.
So how can that all be by accident? How can that all be, well, it just happened to happen? No, it's these direct measures, as you track them, would be how you would root out a middle class and turn a middle class into a lower class and turn an upper class into an even upper class. So then you have the largest disparity ever.
But what happens? Like, I've been hearing this, there is no such thing. People have been saying for years, the middle class doesn't exist anymore. There is no middle class. So, but what does that mean? So they do this to then do what? Okay, so now the richest, the richest has gotten richer, the poor has gotten poor. Now what?
Yeah.
Is it to just make sure that it remains that way and that you get rid of the middle class so that those that are in the high middle class can't ever get to that higher status?
No, I think it's probably for additional control. So if we think about when they do this in history, it's usually around what they call like an industrial revolution. So whenever there's some kind of major paradigm shift coming, you'll see this. And so the next one is going to be AI and a digital currency. A great way to pull off the digital currency is make sure everyone's poor. Because if I'm rich, I'm going to say, screw you. I'm opting out of your CBDC, which is called a central bank digital currency, or your stable coin, which is just a private digital currency. They have a whole, by the way, Donald Trump Jr. somehow owns the company that's going to be ushering in the digital currency. A weird coincidence. So you can see what's coming, and that's why you need this. Didi, if you and I are sitting on a lot of cash, think of how much harder it is to get us into that system. We have leverage. We have leverage to say no. We don't have leverage if we're in debt. We can't pay our house. We've got a low-paying job.
And
we have no leverage. When they say get on that system, you're saying, yes, sir. That's what you're saying. Whether you like it or not, you're saying that. That's why they need that. That's why they can't have you have assets. That's why they take your grandma's house, because they can't have her leave you her house. They need it. So you have nothing, and they can do this next wave of whatever they call this next industrial revolution. That's just how it has to work for this to get pulled off.
I'm a monetary analyst. It's what I do for a living. I study the dollar. And a year ago, almost to the day, I predicted that yield curve control was coming, which is essentially when the U.S. Ponzi scheme really kicks into high gear, and is exactly what we're seeing today. Instead of the Fed issuing new currency to buy the debt, the U.S. Treasury is issuing more debt to buy our existing debt so we can keep issuing more debt. And if that sounds confusing, it's because it is.
Maybe we should stop there. That's a lot to take in. So the Treasury doesn't print the money. That's what you're saying. The Fed does. So how we said earlier, there's a Federal Reserve. That's not the government, even though it's called the Fed, which I think is really sneaky and slippery how they do that. The average person thinks the Fed is just an extension of the government. It's not. It's a private agency that we can't audit. We have no control over. We don't vote for them. The president just selects them. And so they control the money supply and the money printer. The Treasury and the Congress control how that money is spent. And
So
so
Fed is not government.
no. Should we break down the Fed real quick? Because I actually think it's very important to truly
Yeah, I think we
understand the
should.
Fed. Okay, so why don't we do that just real quick? Like I said, the Fed was created in 1913, same year as the income tax, Woodrow Wilson. And I always say this is when America was captured. And I think I have 3 great quotes that I wrote down that support why I believe this to be the case. I want to read one to you real quick. This is a direct quote. Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws. Do you know who said that? The founder of Rothschild Banking. I'll read it one more time. I think it permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws. As I say, they don't care about who's Republican, who's Democrat, who's president. That quote sums it up right there. It's all about the money supply. Henry Kissinger, one of the most powerful Americans in the last 100 years, he said, he who controls the money controls the world. He didn't say he who votes in the Republican controls the world.
Right.
He said he who controls the money controls the world. When we talk about politics, to use a kind of a line from you, Didi, we talk about it 2-dimensional. Oh, the red's better than this, and I think these guys are a little better on this issue. We're too low when we're doing that. These guys are way above that. As I'm illustrating here, they're way above that. They don't care. It means nothing to them. Because once you control the money, you control everything. You control the flow of the money. You control who gets the money. What do you care who's in government? It means nothing to you. And you'll never hear a politician say, you know what we should do? Get rid of this Federal Reserve. Why wouldn't they say that?
All right.
When Trump said he was America first, I knew he wasn't, because I never heard him say, we have to get rid of this. I never heard him say this is a system that's enslaving people. He's for it. So, he's all for it. By the way, shockingly, a former president, James Garfield, he said, he who controls the money supply of a nation controls that nation. Pretty eye-opening and revealing for a president to say that.
I agree. How do you think, Brian, they choose who runs the feds?
Well, we only know who gets chosen, and I've looked into their backgrounds. They all have these like private banking sort of backgrounds. So for instance, someone may come from Goldman Sachs or one of these big, asset financial institutions, and then they get placed into the Fed. So typically they're like a swamp creature, where they're older, they've been in the swamp forever.
Right.
But I believe they're just foot soldiers as well. I don't think any of these Fed people are actually deciding what to make the interest. They're just actors in the Truman Show of acting, playing the role of I'm the Fed head and I'm controlling They're not. There is no way that people in charge would ever allow some guy in the Fed to truly decide the control of the money. I think that comes from above them. But it all goes to support the dog and pony show of just putting a foot soldier in that role.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if they made the wrong decision, they would be Charlie Kirked. Right? What if they actually did something good for the peasants and did something positive with these interest rates or the flow of money? You think they would be alive? You think they would still be in that position? There's no chance. There's no chance a Rockefeller type family or a major bank. So that's how you know. Now, whenever there's a crisis, who do you think the Fed bails out? Do they bail out the peasants or do they bail out the bankers? They bail out the rich.
Right.
So doesn't that tell you, who's in charge of that? So anyway, so that's just a quick background on the Fed. We talked about how they are, and other 7 unelected board members appointed by the president. And like I said, it's just a revolving door where some of them leave government, go into the Fed, and vice versa.
Say it again. How does that work?
So there's 7 board members, is how it is
over the Feds?
over the Fed. Yeah. And what's crazy is we're told that the Fed and the government are independent of each other. Guess the last Fed head, her name was Janet Yellen. And when she was done, she became the Treasury Secretary. And no one said conflict of interest. It was because it was Biden. No, everyone's paying attention on how Biden's demented and Biden's asleep as always. So we're distracted. And then no one is screaming and yelling about, wait a second, this person just came from the Fed and now is on the government side.
For some reason, I think this made like headlines or something somewhere. I've seen this story somewhere.
Oh,
Because, and the
Yellen?
reason why I remember is because I'm not in this world of finances. So I remember when or maybe I saw it on Tucker Carlson, because you know he talks to people that cover some of these things. Somebody covered this, and maybe it was on Jimmy Dore. Somebody made a pretty big deal about it.
Okay.
Well, whatever you just said, did it happen within the last 2 or 3 years?
No, it was Biden. So Biden is the one that put in Janet Yellen. Trump put in this guy, Jerome Powell.
I'm going to look that up because I know what you're talking about.
I mean, just think of that conflict of interest. How do you do both if they tell us these are independent groups of each other that are just working, you know, on behalf of what's best for the American people and all that nonsense? And then you have someone like Janet Yellen go. By the way, you know where Janet Yellen is from? Yale. I'm sure you know what Yale is.
Yes.
So
of course.
More of the same.
So yes, I did see this story, bro. That's so crazy that I remembered this, because let me pull this up.
That's good. I mean, that's good that people brought attention to it.
Let me make sure I can. Okay, y'all can see that.
So look how old this is someone who's controlling finance. This is who's controlling our financial system. Is this person right here?
Look at her history. Board of Governors. She was the chair from 2014 to 2018. Vice chair from 2010 to 2014. President of the Federal Reserve, San Francisco, from 2004. Yeah, she's old. And Board of Governors from 1994 to 1997. It says she took office as chair of Board of Governors in 2014 for a 4-year term, and she was succeeded by Jerome Powell. I've seen his name. I've heard his name a lot in the last few years. I feel like he was involved in some sort of scandal
under
or
Trump.
something.
Yeah, so Trump was Jerome Powell.
She graduated summa cum laude from Brown University, and got a doctorate from Yale in 1971.
Skull and Bones.
Interesting.
This is how they do it.
There's a pipeline for all these people.
Yeah. That's why you can pick any of them. So it's not to pick on Yellen, because you can pick Jerome Powell. Like you said, it's just a pipeline. It's just a setup to get them all into these positions. That's why I don't get hung up on the person. I get hung up on the system, because the person is really irrelevant.
Right.
They're all the same. It doesn't get any better. You know, it's one and the same each time. But that's the Fed in a nutshell. And I think we should understand what the Fed's, I guess, on the surface, what their goal is, why they claim they exist. So there's something called, I don't know if you've heard this or not, the Fed has what's called a dual mandate. So they only have 2 responsibilities. Their dual mandate is price, what would you call, like price stability, which means inflation, and maximum employment.
Wait, so say those terms again. Price, say it again.
They call it price stability. It's just a buzzwordy way of saying inflation. So price stability and maximum employment. That's their only job. It's called a dual mandate. They have 2 things they have to control.
Okay. And dual mandate stands for what?
It's the two things they have to control. Dual. So it's prices and employment.
Okay, I see.
That's what the Fed is there to control. And when you peel back the onion, the way they do it is very evil. So you're going to love this. I mean, so let's start. Why don't we start with price stability, which is inflation? They've come up with this arbitrary number that it has to be 2% each year. So they're already admitting, yeah, let's bring up prices. Let's do it at 2% each year, which of course makes it worse for us because we don't own all the things that we would make money off of. We're stuck paying that bill. You know, so that's already clear to me that the goal of the Fed is to help the rich. Because
are you saying that the Feds have made it, they're public about the fact that it's going to remain, or it's going to go up 2% every year?
That's their goal, to keep it.
So the friend that I mentioned earlier, the friend that I mentioned earlier that I told you has given me these silver coins and talked to me about sort of studying this. He told me this a few weeks ago when I saw him. He literally told me this.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, he's right. And that's probably why he's giving you those silver coins, because it all is connected to what we're talking about, because those are real value. US dollar is called fiat, means it's fake. It's worth the paper it's printed on. Whereas the coins he's giving you is tangible.
I see.
It's
Yep.
real. Yeah. So the Fed has this 2% bogus number. But what's even more evil is they use this weird term to track it called like core PCE, I think, which is personal consumption expenditure. Guess what it leaves out? Food,
What?
big appliances, all the things that would drive inflation higher, it conveniently leaves out. So meaning inflation is actually a lot higher than they claim. And that's how they get it. Like it's probably, who knows, 50%, 80%. And they leave out all the big ticket items to try and covertly keep it at this dumb 2% number.
But how is it legal for them to do that? And here's another question. If the feds are not a government, if the feds are not a part of the government, is it only the president? How is it that you can sort of fight against what it is that they're doing? Like, what's the entity? What's the body of whatever that's designed or has the power to fight the feds?
I don't think you can, because the group that audits them is picked by them.
How in the world?
So, I can't think of a way. I mean, we can look at I can't say too much on YouTube, but we can look at old newspaper articles and see what regular people talked about doing too, if this was ever created. We just can't say it on here. But,
So does that mean like,
there's no, like you're stuck once the Fed is created, like, because they control the money supply. The government doesn't.
I feel like this has been covered. I'm pretty sure to an extent this has been covered in, I don't know if it's one of the Jason Bourne movies, one of the films that's been given to the masses, because they always give us nuggets of truth in these films. And in one of these films, I can't remember which it was, it sort of basically says the president does not make a move that the feds would not approve.
Correct.
And what I'm hearing from you, even if I never heard that in a film, I'm thinking when I'm listening to you is, so how or what, if I'm afraid of anybody, if I'm the president, it has to be the feds. Yes, the president is appointing people to the board, but just correct me. I'm giving you just again, from your everyday person's perspective, you tell me how I should probably look at it differently. I'm saying when I look at that and that dynamic, why would the president, regardless of who it is, ever make a decision that the Fed would not approve?
They don't. It's just pro wrestling when they act like they're arguing with each other. Because at the end of the day,
happened.
They're symbiotic.
Right.
There's always symbiosis between the president and that. Now, someone may tell me, no, I heard Trump calling out Powell. What does that mean? I've heard Trump say Powell is an idiot. Okay. At the end of the day, guess what happened? Exactly what they wanted to happen. That's why I don't get into the pro wrestling name calling, because I care about what actions do they take. And we can go through every action they've taken has hurt us. That's why you can't afford a burger. That's why you can't afford a house, a car, because every single action they've taken has crippled us. That's just what, that's why the Fed was created in 1913, to build this divergence between the peasants and the rich. That's how you take over the world. You can't have people like us with money. How you control us if we have money? What did those three quotes I read all revolve around? He who controls the money controls the world. That's why you need this system. If you're someone in of great power, you're controlling the money supply, and then you own everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to restrict the money supply, they can do that too. They can tighten it as well. They can raise interest rates. They can lower interest rates. That's the only lever the Fed has. Nothing else. They do one thing: raise rates, lower rates. Print money, raise rate, lower rate. That's it. Which sounds, in theory, like, oh, it's not that bad. No, but that's the worst thing. Because once you start messing with the control and the supply of money, you've blown everything up. This is how you get to where we can't afford anything, by flooding the system with money.
So the young lady in the clip we were just playing, she said soon. pardon me, how would you define soon? The things that she's describing in this
Yeah.
video,
Well,
how
I
would you
can tell,
define it?
yeah, I can tell you why she's saying soon, and then maybe we can try and figure out why. Because something will have to break if no one's buying this debt, as we said, these treasuries. So let's think of an example first to really understand it. If the government puts out their debt and they say it's 5%, we're going to pay, and no one wants it, it's supply and demand. Then they have to raise it, because if not, you won't buy it. So what if they raise it to 6% and you don't buy it? Why is that a problem? Guess what happens to your mortgage? This is all interconnected.
It increases, but hold
It
on.
increases.
So repeat that. That's something you just said went over my head. So if no one buys it, what increase? So,
but yeah,
just repeat all of that.
Sure. Let's think of this. To me, the easiest way to understand this is supply and demand. If I'm offering you this debt and I'm saying, Didi, you give me 1,000, I'll give you 5% on that 1,000, and you say, Brian, that's not enough. So I have to then raise the interest.
Wait, if you have the debt or if I have the debt,
I'm selling it to you. So you're giving me 1,000. You're investing in me
for your debt.
You're giving me 1,000. I'm borrowing it, and in return, I'm giving you interest because I'm borrowing the 1,000. You get what I'm saying?
But when I give you the $1,000, I'm getting your debt in return, correct?
Yeah, plus 5%. That's why you're investing, because you're making 5%.
I'm buying. I see. I understand now.
See. So what I'm saying is, what if you say, Brian, 5% is not high enough? I think, Brian, you're too risky. I want more.
I want 15%.
You twisted my arm. I'll give you 7%. Brian, a little more. All right, 7.5. So if we land on 7.5, that means your mortgage goes up, because this is all interconnected. All in the government's treasury rate is directly connected to the rest of the borrowing. So now your mortgage is higher.
There's no way around that.
I can't think of a way around that. I mean, they could lower rates, but then we have a whole new set of problems. So we're talking specifically.
Wait, so if we're using that analogy you just gave, you're saying that if you're the US, I'm China, and I give you $1,000, but instead of that 5%, I say, hey, 8%. So you're saying that when you go back home, because your home is in this scenario, home would be America. You would go back to your home, and everybody in your home, there's a way, or there could be a way, where everything in their life does not increase. Maybe you're saying, but you don't know a way outside of that, because usually everybody else's life will automatically be impacted and will become that much more expensive. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the way for things not to increase is simple, but it won't happen. It's what I said earlier. You cut government spending. In 1913, relatively speaking, things were not expensive, because you didn't have the debt is what creates it. The high interest, all of this is what makes it that way. So that is your way. That's why you'll never hear a politician say we're cutting spending.
And the reason why
they won't do it.
Tell me if I'm right about this. And the reason why it would become expensive for everybody else is because the feds would have to try to make back those funds in order to pay back that interest.
Yeah, because you're now charging, it's a higher rate. Like I said, I'm now giving you 7%. So
which is why there's no way around it.
My mortgage is connected to that. That's how you have to look at it. So when rates on what she's saying go up, your mortgage goes up. If you want to start a business and you go to a bank, that goes up now. That interest goes up to get that money to start a business. You want to buy a car? Cars used to be, I'm old enough, cars were like 0.5%. Now it's through the roof because of this. It's all connected. Anyone watching, they should Google something called 10-year treasury. The 10-year is what's connected to all of this. So the 10-year treasury means same thing. If I invest money in the government for 10 years, that's the number that's impacted the most. That's connected to borrowing, mortgages, the things I'm talking about. So if you're tracking the 10-year and the 10-year is going up, you know everything's going up in terms of borrowing.
Mm-hmm.
And if the 10-year is low, then you know borrowing is probably going down.
Mm-hmm. So
that's what you want to track. It's called the 10-year treasury yield or 10-year treasury note. You can easily find it if you just Google it. And that's all connected to what she's saying here. She's expecting these things to blow up because no one wants them. How do we know no one wants them? She started the video by saying the government is buying back its own debt. Ask yourself, why would the government have to do that if the debt was in demand? You wouldn't have to, because
But
everyone else would be buying.
but if you're buying back your own, maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, but if you're buying back your own debt, before we even mention how you're buying it back, which is she said by debt itself. I think she said we're using debt. That is even more She even said it herself. That's more complicated than I probably even care to know, and it'll probably only confuse me more. But I guess the main question here is what will be the intention of buying back our own debt? And if whatever the answer is, why didn't we just do that years ago?
Okay. So the reason why they're buying back their own debt is to bring down the interest rates. So the rates are spiraling out of control because no one wants the debt. So as I said earlier, it's supply and demand. So if you're buying the debt, that makes the market feel like the debt is in demand. Therefore, you can stabilize the rate. So let's say this again so it makes sense. Supply and demand. If no one's buying the debt, the rate has to go up. Just as I said to you earlier. If you said 5% isn't high enough, I got to give you 7%. So you buy it back, you flood the market with that now. That brings the rate down.
Why does that sound illegal? Like, why does that sound like that's not real? Like, how are we able to buy back something that we're not able, that we don't have? Like, in other words, I don't have the money for it. So how am I buying it? Am I tricking the system?
Well, the government is selling other debt. So there's something called long-term debt and short-term debt. Right now, they're trying to stabilize long-term debt, which is 10 plus years. So 10-year, 20-year, and 30-year is long-term. So they're using short-term debt to stabilize long-term debt, which is going to screw up short-term debt. Then they're going to have to switch and sell long-term debt.
So basically, we're buying ourselves time.
Oh, that's it. It's kicking a can. And that's her point in the video, I think, that she's trying to make. Yeah, it's just kicking a can down a road. It could be to the midterms. It could be to the next election. But that's why you'd be buying your own debt. You're trying to stabilize these rates. These rates are out of control right now. They're just, every day I check, it's a straight line up. The interest rate just keeps going higher. Yeah, which is a huge problem. Huge problem for us. Because like I said, if you want to buy a house, you got to think about it at a different level now. You know, if you want to get a new car, you got to reconsider. If you're starting a business, a credit card, all these things are all related to interest rates. So as these rates go up, you have a problem.
Somebody said, I'm surprised that you didn't know this, Didi. So I know like some of the like low level things. I know like, or I should say the overarching narratives and headlines. I'm aware of those things, but the purpose of today is for me, I'm like a student in class. We're actually learning how the mechanisms work that has led to us where we are today in this country. Because remember, I'm only 30, right? Like I'm only 30 years old. We're talking about the mid 90s when I was born. If we're saying that the Fed started in 1913, this has been an accumulating problem well before that point. So anyways, I'm learning the history and where we are right now in this country, because like I said, before Brian reached out earlier today to talk about this topic, I had already saw this lady's video, which is why I was able to find it so fast, because I saved it, because I wanted to just, I'm the type of person, if I don't understand something, I start like doing deep dives into it when I have the time to do it. And I was just going to eventually come back to that to try to, because everything she said sounded like Chinese. How do I figure out what this says in English, right? That's what my breakdowns typically try to do for myself. I try to do for myself.
So my goal is I'm trying to convert this best I can to English.
Right.
Because as I've said, I started the same as all of you, which is why I believe this comment is unfair, because we all start at zero.
Mm-hmm.
No one should be watching this thinking, wow, this guy, Brian, he's so impressive. He knows all this stuff. Today I do. But you guys didn't know me when I didn't know this stuff. Right? So.
Do you know who this person is? Anthony C. Suttons?
No, I haven't seen that name.
Other good books to read or interviews from Anthony C. Suttons. So I'm just assuming that's a big person who talks about these things. Okay.
No. Cool. Yeah, so we left off on, we were talking about the Fed, the 2% inflation, how they, I said, manipulate that, leaving out all the big ticket items, which is so convenient. I can't believe they do that. And it's a way to trick us, because Think about this, Didi. Why do you have to wait for the government to tell me the inflation rate? Because you know how I measure inflation? I walk in a store.
And you look at the prices of things like eggs, bread.
Am I too simple of a person? That's
No.
all I do. I don't need to hear, hey, well, the government said it's 2.1%. So it's not. I walk in a store. That's all I have to do. I drive in my neighborhood. I look at for sale signs. And when I see a little shack going for 800,000, I know we have inflation. I don't need to wait for Janet Yellen or Jerome Powell to tell me it's actually 1.9. That's all part of the game to keep you in what I call like this economic fog of war, where we're just confused. What did you say earlier? It feels like Mandarin on purpose.
Right.
Because this is ridiculous that we have all these pointless stats. If I can't afford things, I know we have inflation. What do I care what the percentage is? The other evil thing they do, I said earlier, they have a dual mandate. They call it maximum employment. So they want to keep unemployment low, which sounds good, except for when employment gets too high. Because then they claim that's actually bad. That causes inflation. If too many people have jobs, guess what's happening? Too many people are spending money. That causes prices to go up. So because we have to keep inflation at 2%, now we've got to crush jobs.
Wait, spending too much money also causes prices to go up?
Yeah. Think about this, Didi. If you have $50 in your pocket right now, and what happens if I give you another 50? Aren't you going to spend it?
Yeah.
So what if everyone does that? The price of goods will go up because there's more money being spent on them. So why would you charge $4 for eggs if everyone's rushing in to buy eggs and has more money? You'll charge $5 because you can get $5 because people have more money.
For some reason, that sounds like a silly way to think about it. Like if I'm on the business side of things, but well, first let me say, yes, I understand from a business perspective. If more people are spending money, you're looking at the spreadsheet, you're saying, maybe we can take advantage of this, make more money, since everybody's spending money. But I would also think about it like this, or I would assume some people think about it like this: more money is being spent. Let me just stock up more, charge the same price, or maybe even a little bit less. It's kind of like how they'll do have these sales in stores, and they'll figure, well, if I give you a 2-for-1, yeah, it seems like on the surface I'm not going to make as much money, but if I have this sale, it's going to generate more people to come into my store. If I increase the price of these things, less people are going to come into my store. Does that make sense?
Yeah, except that's not what happens. It's like counterintuitive.
Right.
That's just not what happened. Like sales do not go down when they increase the price. You would think they would, but they don't.
Crazy.
There's been studies on this where they'll raise the price of something and it'll actually sometimes cause sales to be significantly higher, because there's this weird thing of you may actually feel like that item is more valuable when if it's too cheap, you feel like it's cheap garbage. No, that doesn't go for eggs because eggs are food. But I'm saying maybe something like a TV. You may buy the $500 instead of the $300 because you assume, oh, it's $300, it's garbage. There's a sort of mindset that can happen there. So they know the threshold of where they can raise prices. But another thing we didn't mention why they may raise prices, because everything's connected, their costs may go up. So if you're having an inflationary period where everything's up, their costs go up. They got to raise their workers' wages. Their fuel, diesel right now is over $5 a gallon. So as diesel goes up, their costs go. So it's all connected to the price going up. It's not as simple as only because, there's more money in circulation, the price goes up. It's a number of contributing factors. The more money is the main one, but their other costs go up. So then prices go up. And then their stupid reasoning is if everyone works, everyone has too much money, that causes prices to go up. Let's kill employment. Think how evil that is. A bunch of billionaires get to decide when employment's too high.
So that's what happened. Like after the CARES Act and they gave us all the stimulus checks, I thought that well, I guess two things can be true at the same time. It stimulated the economy, but did prices also go up as a result? because more
Yeah.
people were spending money at that point?
Major prices went up, but I'll tell you this, it's a psyop. It didn't stimulate the economy. When the government puts $1 in your left pocket, it's because they're taking $2 out of your right pocket. When the government gives you that $1,500 stimulus, that's because they're taking $3,000 out of your other pocket.
How? Like how?
Sure. Okay, great question. So we got to go back to, how did I say the government paid for that CARES Act? They printed the money. So by printing the money, they devalued your dollar. That's a hidden tax. Are you familiar with the term purchasing power? Purchasing
Yes.
power means the value your dollar has. So before COVID came, your dollar went further than after COVID. So you lost money, even though they gave you 1,500. They didn't give you 1,500. They took 3,000 from you. Because you're down money. Your pizza costs more. Your electric bill costs more. It costs more to go to a Knicks game or a Pelicans game or whatever your team, a Cowboys game. All that costs more because they printed all that money. They didn't give you 1,500. They took 3,000 from you. You just didn't realize it, because that's the magician at work here. That's the magic of, no, we're saying with a tax cut. Whenever I hear tax cuts, it's a tax increase. Every single time they've done tax cuts, it's a tax increase. Because it's the same concept. How can they cut your taxes without raising something else? Print more money, devalue the dollar, and now you're paying for the tax via the fact that you can't afford anything. So at the end of the year, you're down more money than you were the year before. That means they took money from you, that you didn't get a tax cut. You didn't get a stimulus. It's the opposite.
That's crazy.
Does that make sense? Am I explaining?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But that's so crazy because most Americans not only are not aware of this, but they'll never know it, because especially those who are the poorest, because like a lot of my family and friends, they're happy they got free, quote unquote, free money.
Except they didn't, which is scary.
Except they didn't.
Let me ask you, which position would you rather be in? Earning 80,000 10 years ago, or today making 100,000?
80,000 10 years ago.
See my point?
Yeah.
100 is more in math. 100's higher.
But it pays for less.
Pays for less. So therefore you're making less.
Yeah.
There's a term for this. Is it probably a good time to understand this? Because another sneaky magic trick the government does: nominal and real. Okay. So when the government presents these numbers, every number is presented nominally, which means in name only.
I was like, yeah.
So so forgive me if some know this, but I just think it's important to truly make sure we hammer this point down, because this is the trick they use. To my wage example, you'll hear Trump and all these wages are up 10%. The average wage is this. Nominally, in name only. You know why they can't mention real wages? Every year they're lower. Because real wage is adjusted for the inflation. To my point of, would you rather have 80,000 10 years ago or 100 today? So nominal is
nominally is 100,000, but
nominal is 100, right? It's just the number.
In real price, it's probably closer to probably 70, 60, something like that.
So why don't we get the real numbers instead of the nominal numbers? Why don't they tell me, no, wages in real terms are this? They don't do that. You know, the stock market, they do the same way. I get a lot of heat for this. When they tell me the stock market's a record high, I say, no, it's not. It's actually a record low. And they go, what do you mean? I go, nominally, it's a record high. But no, it's not. In 2000, would you rather have the 2000 stock market where you could buy a house, buy a car, pay for your family, or today's stock market? You'd rather have the one in 2000.
Right, but let me ask you this. So even from if you're going to go from wages to stock market, let me ask you this then. A house, which one would consider an asset, unlike a vehicle, an asset. Would you say that houses today are, obviously we know they're more expensive than ever. So I guess I'm probably answering my own question. A $375,000 house today and a $375,000 house 15 years ago, 20 years ago, nominally it's the same price, but like the real adjusted number, when you adjust for inflation, you get two complete values as far as like the house itself.
Right. Right. So it's unaffordable. Now it's 800,000. That's not so that's why I brought up the stock market. You have to make it relative, and to make it relative, you have to figure out the real number. That's why the stock market is not an all-time high. It's only an all-time high nominally on paper. Do you have that image I sent? It's okay if you don't, but I think it perfectly explains this. It's the average price of beef, because I tried to think of something that affects everyone and how perfect. Thank you. So there's so much that we can digest from this. This is just a very simple chart showing the average price of ground beef from 1985 until today.
Oh my God.
Okay, so Didi, look at what it is in 2000. Let's say it's 140. It looks like 150. So would you rather have the stock market of 2000 or the stock market of today?
Easy answer.
The stock market of 2000. Why? Because if I price it in beef terms, I'm better off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm better off because goods and services are significantly cheaper than they are today. And you could use this for any example. You could take gold and silver and say, let me try and price it in today's terms. I just thought beef is great because we can all relate to beef. Something else I want to show you. You see when that spike happens at 2010, it starts going straight up.
Yep.
Take a guess when they started printing money. After the great financial crisis, 2009 and 10, to stimulate the economy. So what happens when you print money? Let's look at 2020. When I just said they printed trillions of dollars. From 2020 to now, look at what it does. To me, this perfectly proves what I'm saying about what happens when you artificially inflate the currency via money printing. It's right here. Is beef in more demand and that's why this has gone up? Of course not. When they weren't printing money, look at 1985 to 2000. It's flat.
So wait, help. Okay.
It's flat.
Wow.
They start right there in 2008, 9, and 10 because of the, quote, great financial crisis.
So beef right now, and I wouldn't know because I haven't ate beef in like 6 years. So beef is $7 a pound?
This is saying on average across the country. Obviously, it's skewed because, in
Right.
California,
For sure.
I'm sure it costs more. This is just taking an average.
For sure.
Like someone in the chat may say they only pay 5, and someone
I
else may
see.
say they pay 9 because it depends where you live. But this is, yeah.
Sheesh.
So this is the average.
Got it.
I find this really helps me understand the problem. This is why I wanted us to look at this. It really helps me understand it. That's why I keep saying I'd rather have 2000 with that stock market compared to today. My money went further. I'm old enough. I had a job I started working on the books officially in 98, making, I think, $4.75 an hour. I could buy stuff at $4.75 an hour, at $5 an hour. Gas was 98 cents. To go to a Jets game was $20. Parking was $5. Tell me one banker when we talked about this, did he occupy Wall Street? That's why that happened, because to this comment. Tell me one banker who went to jail. $7 in Kentucky. So that's right in line with the.
Insane, man.
This is the cost of allowing these lunatics to inflate and devalue our currency.
This person has been trying to get your attention probably for the last 20 minutes.
Okay.
I saved their comment. They go, bro, this is also exciting in all seriousness. It really is. But name a single solution. LOL, please. Feel like I'm around a bunch of drunk people telling me about some story of how they almost made it to the NFL.
I mean, you could argue that in the sense that I'm only diagnosing the problem. I mean, for one, I'm not really a person in power where I'm on the hook for the solution, but we've talked about some of the solutions actually. And I've said one was boycotts. What happened when people boycotted Bud Light? They sent Donald Trump Jr. on TV and said, stop it. So boycotts work. So reducing your spending is one way to stop this. That's what they did in China. In China, to stop all this runaway inflation, the people got together and said, we're done spending money.
But see, I've heard people say this. I'm curious to hear what you're going to say about this.
I don't have all the answers, honestly.
I've heard people say the protesting thing and to stop spending, but would you agree, Brian, that it would have to take a mass amount of people
Oh,
in
no
order
doubt.
to, and
No doubt.
right? How do you collectively get? I don't have the answers either.
Yeah.
And that, yes, I wish I did. Like, how do you get enough people to collectively trust each other, make the decision to stick it through across the country in order to, I mean, that type of, you talk about crowdsourcing, that type of movement and gathering of people. I mean, this is why they have, and I've talked about this, they have manufactured leaders, because if there was an actual person that had a platform that could, because there's your answer right there. The type of influence that a lot of people have, celebrities could do it. Not
Same with
the current versions of celebrities, obviously, but what I'm saying is someone in their position, like a Denzel Washington, could come out and just so many people would listen to him. Unfortunately, that's just how it works, because they just, LeBron could do it. You see what I'm saying? But we know that these people are not true leaders. These people have handlers. So the point that I'm saying is that would be a way that we could get so many people. LeBron can get thousands of people, 20,000 people to one place. That would be massive. But we know, no.
Well, how about the influencer class? Because on one of the prior lives, we talked about why is the Charlie Kirk the #1 story? This was one of my answers. Because if that's the #1 story, you never coalesce and align to do what you're saying that we can't do, because at that scale, it'd be hard to pull off. And you're right. Why do they have to keep everyone divided on issues? Didi voted for Biden. Brian voted for Trump. That's it. We can't get together on this issue because we think we're enemies of each other. Therefore, you'll never strike at your job. You'll never picket. You'll never boycott using Amazon, because we're so into the identity politics and all of that, which is why why are we in a culture war? To make sure we never align economically.
All right.
That's the brilliance of the woke movement, the culture war, having influencers distract us with stories that are not really relevant, even though they're interesting and gossipy. And that makes it harder. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. Maybe my solution isn't realistic, but that is the way. This is how back in the day people coalesced, was this same thing.
And to your point, here, I'm gonna show you. And I think part of the inspiration was actually your email, Brian. I put this poll up. Don't know if you saw it.
I don't think so.
Put this poll up 3 days ago. Says, since the Charlie Kirk distraction or event 11 months ago, has the world gotten any worse in any of these categories that most people haven't noticed yet? 7,000 people voted on this. We got AI surveillance, who actually came in second, food insecurity, housing crisis, foreign relations war, and then in the comment section, because I wasn't given an option, I gave people the opportunity to select all the above, which 343 people chose. What I don't have on here is the financial market.
Yeah, it's sometimes I think, not sometimes, most of the time we should look at what people aren't talking about as opposed to what people are talking about.
So hold up. Are you able to see the poll or no?
Oh, I was just listening. You have the burger chart up.
That's so funny, because I did not know that was up there. Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah.
There we go. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, since the Charlie Kirk event distraction 11 months ago, has the world got any worse in any of these categories that most people haven't noticed yet? And as you can see, AI surveillance at 31%, food insecurity nationwide, housing crisis, foreign relations war, which actually won it on its facing. But then down here in the comment section, as I stated just before, I gave people the option for all the above, which 343 people liked it for that option. So what I don't have here, though, as you can see, is the financial market.
So here's what's interesting. What strikes me there, I agree on the foreign relations war. I think I may have said this on a video, but why do we have that war? When you have endless money printing, you have endless wars to fund. You have
Because
endless wars.
it's money laundering, right?
No, I'm saying that's how you fund it. So the reason back in the day you couldn't have wars because you
that's
couldn't
right.
afford
That's
to have
right.
wars.
That's
You
right.
have to pay a military. You have to pay for weapons. Well, if you just print money, you can afford to be in a war in every single country. I think right now the U.S. is in like 80% of the world, meaning they have bases, military base, because they can afford it. All they have to do is go on a computer, and print money. So if you get rid of money printing, you can stop wars right there. They end tomorrow. Ukraine and the Middle East end tomorrow. There's no money to fund them.
Right.
It's that simple. It's really that's how you end them. But we don't need this complicated way to try and bring peace to the world. Stop printing money. I think maybe another good example I could bring up quick that always, at least for me, helped me understand this. We were talking about how printing money, and we were saying, like, why do prices go up, right? If you flood the system with money.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think about this because I'm a bit older than you, so I don't know if you ever collected baseball cards or sports cards.
Yeah.
But for me,
Dragon Ball Z cards too.
Oh, okay, perfect. I learned a lesson when I first started creating cards. I thought the most popular player was going to be the most expensive card. Makes sense. But what did I learn? The most rare card was the most expensive. The most scarce card was the most expensive. There was a card of a baseball player called Honus Wagner. Only 2 existed, and it was the most expensive. So let me ask you, what would have happened if they would have printed 1,000 of those Honus Wagner cards?
It would have become less valuable.
Become less valuable. That's the dollar. That's how I think of it. Or a stamp collection. If you have some rare stamp, rare comic book, and they just print 1,000 more of those, that has to become less valuable. So that's how I learned to understand this whole economic scheme they're running with the dollar. The more they print, the more the value of that goes down, and then the more the cost of things have to go up.
Right.
It's really like a seesaw of just supply and demand. So hopefully that helps people who are listening. We talked about the beef. We talked about nominal and real. We talked about, should we talk about maybe, I think, a little more on interest rates? Or maybe should we take a breather and see what people are saying in the chat? If there's questions, if this is good or bad.
Sure. I'm going to start reading some of the super chats, and then what we'll do is after we hop out of the super chats, I'm going to play some more of the clip. You let me know when a good place within the clip to stop, and then you can hop into the interest rates and respond, or I guess break down what she explained to us.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Elaine.
This is a lot what we're doing here.
All right. Mr. Jig, I hope people aren't the brains aren't fried from, because numbers isn't always people's things. Finances isn't always people's things. So I hope this is being explained to you in a way in which you can understand it. But I'm also not underestimating many of you. Many of you probably understand it already better than I do. Someone said, thank you for the $20. F it, LOL. Maybe this will get an answer. Once again, with all due respect, can you please list a single solution? This person to any of these claims, issues. We all know there's corruption and crooked people. What do we do?
Well, I think it's deeper than there's corruption and crooked people. This is systemic. I mean, as I said, this goes back to 1913. And so, when something's systemic, it's harder. It's like cutting the head off the snake is harder than just, other than some of the things I've suggested, I don't really know many other things you can do, because that's why I emphasize those quotes I read earlier about he who controls the money controls the world. That just is so true. And once you give that away, it's hard to get it back. You gave that away. You allowed some entity to just do all of this, and it's not as easy as we just get it back.
Well, let me ask you this. Could a good answer to this person's question also be not advice? YouTube, this is not financial advice, but would a good response to that super chat would be maybe some things that you've done in your life, maybe things you've invested in, such as maybe silver or whatever.
True. Small things. Absolutely. So yeah, that is what as I said earlier, things that are tangible, gold, silver, you can't go wrong. getting out of the stock market as opposed to getting in. There was a time where I was deep in the market. And then as I started to understand these things, I started removing myself, from that. I think another thing right now would be hoarding cash, because if you end up in this digital prison, cash is going to go a long way. You can barter, you can use cash, to try and not get into that. But if you have no cash, what are your options? You'll be on a digital dollar, a digital currency.
Would you say now is too early of a time to start hoarding cash, or you'd say people should start? And if so, and I know it varies for where people are in life, but I think it will help somebody somewhere to hear a number as to what you think is a good starting place for them to, even if they're not able to get there, they're not there right now, to try to work their way to as to physical cash they have on them. That's disposable if they need it.
Yeah, well, because the bank really doesn't pay you much for it, I think as much as you can take out where you're just left to spend your bills. So that's what I do. So let's say if your bills are, making up round numbers, 5,000, well, then you should have 5,000 in there a month. And then if there's another 2,000, start taking that out, because what good is it in the bank? Actually, if there's ever a bank run, you're screwed. You're not going to be able to get that money anyway. And there's going to be a bank run. There's going to have to be a bank run because the banks don't have the money. They gave it away. When you went to the bank and you deposited that money, they gave it away. That money's not there. It's gone.
That's how it works, right? Yeah.
That's how it works. So not a conspiracy. Literally, look on their own financials.
Yeah, that's literally how a bank works.
That's literally how they admit it. They don't hide it. It's not illegal. They're absolutely allowed to. Why are they allowed to do it? Because when OJ was happening, we were distracted, and the Clintons and all these monsters re-regulated, or deregulated, I should say, this entire banking system. And
I learned this. I used to work for a bank for about 4 or 5 years, and something I learned was that's what they train us on our side is that if a person has, let's say, $250,000, and that's another thing I learned: never judge a person by the way they look. And I'm not just talking about the old man who has lived a full life and you think he doesn't have much, but he has all this money sitting in his account that he never spends. Yes, that happens too. But I'm talking about younger people. Like, don't judge that 35-year-old dude who doesn't look like he has much, because that guy may have $250,000 sitting in his bank. And I've seen it. Like, in a lot of these situations, blew my mind. But they'll train us on the bank side of things that even if a person has $250,000 in their account and they show up, they're a regular, they've been a regular for years, we know them first name basis, but if they came into that bank and attempted to get $50,000 out, and we have it, let's say we're at the big branch, so we probably got $1 million in the vault, we can give them $50,000. There's a 2 or 3 day processing fee.
That's insane.
And part of the reason for that is because they don't want to risk so many people, because yeah, sure, it's very uncommon, but they don't know how many more people are going to come in asking for that type of money. And I actually exaggerated the number that's in the vault. And that's important because I want people to fully understand how this works. Let's say we got 300,000 in the vault, 400,000. $500,000 at the most. If a person comes in and tries to get $50,000, $75,000 out, it's a 2 or 3 day hold. And part of the reason is because the money that you look at that's in your account, and many of you all may know this, to Brian's point, it's the money is not just sitting there the way it would if it's under your mattress or in your vault, in your safe. That money is being moved around, right? Other people's accounts, investments. It's moving around all over the place. So what they're really doing is they're gathering that money for you. They tell you that they're processing it, and because it's over a certain amount, they have to process it because it's so much. Translation, they don't have the physical cash that they're comfortable with getting for you, so they have to start accumulating and getting those funds from other places. So yeah.
Think about it this way: your deposit on the bank's books is a liability.
It's an investment. Yeah.
No, it's an investment, but I mean, it's a liability because it's an IOU. They owe you that money back because they've taken it and given it away.
That's the way to think about it.
That should really sink in as freaky. Your deposit on their end is a liability to them. They've given it away. That's now something they owe you. That's like almost like debt, right? They have to pay that back.
What's so funny to think about it that way is because so many people are starting accounts with them. It's so many IOUs. But I guess another way you could think about it is, yes, they're IOUs, but if so for example, if you start an account and you deposit $500, but they on the other side of town at another one of their branches, somebody just started an account and put $30,000 in their account. Yeah, technically speaking, they have the money now. So but they still owe you the money just in case you want it back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even if they just received a deposit somewhere else that's much larger.
Doesn't matter. It's an IOU. And what happens when AI comes and there's mass layoffs? Can't mass layoffs lead to mass banking withdrawals? If I don't have a job, aren't I going to run to my bank?
Mm-hmm.
So then what happens?
I've thought about that. I've talked about that. It's a video I did probably about a year ago now. Yeah, definitely a year ago. Probably a year and a half ago. It wasn't a year and a half ago. It was a little bit over a year ago. I talked about Tucker Carlson. He interviewed this guy who said that banks are, I think he called it Ponzi schemes. And
Correct.
he broke it down and how it stems from Germany. And I mean, it was one of the most incredible videos I've ever seen, because he talked about how dangerous it was and how he had received death threats for exposing it. Anyways, I covered it in layman terms. I did like quite a bit of research on that video, on that interview, and I broke it down. I'll try to link that in the description because that's a very good conversation to check out.
I mean, if they don't have the money to support it, that's extremely dangerous. Like,
exactly. Well, his point was that, in short, when we deposit money, the bank doesn't keep the money at all. And not just to say they move it around. He said they're doing other things with the funds. Yeah. We're just under the impression that they're holding the money or they're moving around within itself. But really, because there's what is like the big bank, there's like 3 different levels of banks. And he was breaking it. I don't want to butcher it, but yeah.
Simplest way to think of it is they're making risky investments with your money.
Right.
So, for example, the subprime, you always heard about that, the mortgage crisis.
Yes, he used that term as well. If you went to
a local bank and you gave them $1,000, they took your $1,000 and then lent it to a risky borrower who most likely wasn't going to pay it back. That means how are you going to get your $1,000? And then banks go under. And FDIC is to make you believe your money's insured. It's not, because the FDIC doesn't have enough money to cover it.
All right.
So.
All right. Thank you for the $5, Autumn. You will enjoy investing in gold and silver. Over time, gold and silver buy more. Dollars will buy less because of inflation. Love your channel.
Oh, perfect to what I was saying. Right.
Yep. Very good. Very good comment. Thank you for the $5. This is the information I want to hear. Sorry, Charlie, but his people are straight financially and protected. We need the truth to get prepared. I agree. This person is asking the same question. So what do we do to help ourselves? Thank you for $2. Hopefully you were able to catch what Brian and I discussed earlier. We are with Christ. We are of his kingdom. Thank you so much for the $2. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for the $3. Did I have a solution? Don't need a celebrity. Thank you for the $5. Dr. Chris Martison has been my #1 truther since 2009 crash course regarding the 3 E's: energy, economy, environment. That may be the person my buddy has put me on to. Chris Martison.
I don't know if I've heard that name. I'd have to look.
Chris Martison. I don't think I know. I don't see this person on here. Okay. Yeah, that one's new to me. Thank you for the $5, Kate. Shout out to you, Didi, for not being a hater and promoting Brian. I'll always support you. Well, yeah, that's it. First of all, I don't hate anybody, but that's an easy one. The world is selfish and envious. You will receive many blessings. Well, this is light work. Wait till we cover some more topics that the masses are typically more interested in or can digest a little bit easier. And so when there's another 2,000 people in the room, that's when we're really going to push Brian's channel so that
Yeah, I
they can
mean,
actually get.
no doubt.
Sometimes people want what they want, but sometimes they need to get what they need, And I will consider this conversation as something we need to talk about. Thank you for the $5. Numbers are not my strong suit, so I really appreciate the history and breakdown. I hope this becomes a series. Thank you for the info.
To me, this is the kind of comment that tells me it's worth doing a video like this, regardless if 10 people are watching.
Totally
Because this
agree.
tells
And
me
there's
someone. Sorry, yeah.
no, you're right. Sorry for cutting you off, but what I was saying was like, yes, and the fact that this person decided to super chat, because there's so many people watching and will watch this video that won't super chat but feel the exact same way. And they're gonna, in fact, some people are gonna be on the same level as you are. And so everything you're speaking is English to them. They understand the language, and they're more so just curious to see if you actually know what you're talking about. So people are gonna watch for different reasons.
Hey, like I've said earlier, please leave a comment, good or bad, constructive. I say, not, hey, his glasses look weird or his voice is weird. Like a constructive.
Or he has a face for radio.
Yeah, face for radio, right. I prefer not that, only because it doesn't relate to the content, but constructive feedback is great.
Right.
Then next time I can be better. So, but the end, this comment really tells me this is worth the investment in terms of the time and effort. This is a hard one for me to do, right? It's I'm not a professor, I'm not a teacher. This is a lot to go like off of my head and try, and so I'm doing the best I can, but I just really believe this is information. People should understand this, in my view.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you for the $5. Question: what is the difference between a million versus a billion? Answer: about a billion. Sheesh. Thank you for the $20. Love your channel, Didi. Thank you for discussing this topic. I'm learning a lot. Thank you, Sasha Fierce. Very interesting name. I wonder if did you get that inspiration from Beyonce? Just curious. And yeah, heck yeah.
Great comment.
Oh, there's Gina. Look at Gina. I didn't know you said, hey, hi guys. Is there any way to protect our money, or are we all just doomed? Sounds to me like we're all just doomed. Depressing. Brian?
No, I would say we're not all doomed, and you can protect your money. It's possible she came in a little late. So one way protecting your money, and someone said it in the chat as well, was buying gold. Because buying gold, you're protecting the value of your money. Gold inflates in a good way. The price, the purchasing power of the gold goes up. So yeah, so that's that. So definitely you're not doomed at all. And I wouldn't say this is depressing, because you have to view knowledge as power, even though it's a corny cliche. That's why I felt compelled to talk about this, because I think the more we understand of this, you're putting yourself in a better position. People who have no understanding of this, I'm sorry to say, will be screwed. Because what are they going to do when they get hit with the digital currency and the digital wallet and the digital ID?
Everything.
You are not
everything, my friend.
At all.
Yes, my friend told me the exact same words. The exact same words you just said, Brian. He literally expressed to me. He said, "Listen, I know what you're covering. You're covering a lot of important things." He said, "You gotta talk." He like, either you gotta educate yourself on it, and if you care about your audience, you have to find somebody to talk about these things. He said, because it's gonna happen. There's no if and buts. It's just a matter of when. He said we're due for it what is it? It can't be 25 years. Every 100 years we change our the way we spend money.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, 1913, they created the income tax and the Federal Reserve. That was the biggest change in the history of the country up until so. And then what happened in 1929, which is almost 100 years ago, right? The Great Depression, the financial collapse of the stock market, where in one day it's down 80% and peasants are running just to get the last breadcrumb because they gave it all away to the market. So,
and we are at 2026.
And we're at it. Yeah. So, I mean, but again, the people that know some of this, you can get in front of this. Also, I think back to COVID, people who understood what was going on didn't get the what. So are you all doomed? You and I, Didi, are still alive. We don't have myocarditis. We don't have whatever that thing is in us when we get this. So that would be an example of the knowledge being powerful. Wow. If you were someone understanding this during COVID, you would go, oh man, that's great. It's not depressing. Look, I didn't get this. I learned from watching Didi and doing my own research. I view this the same way. you can protect yourself if you just start to think a little deeper about what's going on, start researching, start looking at things a little bit differently. You absolutely can come out of this, okay.
All right. So with that, we're gonna get back into the
Right.
video, and then I got about maybe 30 minutes tops that I can do left, and I think
Okay.
that should be enough time.
Yeah.
So the good news is we've gotten the super chats out of the way. So let's go ahead and do this.
You don't need to know all the technical details. All you have to know is that the media is going to tell you that this is not technically quantitative easing, that inflation will not rise because
We should
of
stop
this.
there, only
But
because that's already a lot for one sentence. So she said the media is not going to tell you about quantitative easing. And I think she mentioned, excuse me, I should probably get water, and inflation. So quantitative easing, why don't we break down what that is? It's a buzzword that never existed. And then when housing collapsed and they printed money, they called it quantitative easing because they know no one's going to understand that. Quantitative easing is a nice way of saying printing money. It's when the feds print money, buy bonds to inject and, quote, stimulate the economy. The opposite of quantitative easing is quantitative tightening. That's when they pull back. So when they lower interest rates is typically when they're doing quantitative easing. They're printing money. They're trying to, quote, stimulate the economy, and that's what they're doing. And then tightening is the reverse. You're saying there's too much money out there, too much inflation. Let's pull back. Let's pull back the money supply. Let's increase the interest. That's what's happening there when she's saying quantitative easing. And now, because more people understand it, it now has a negative connotation. So what she's saying, that's why she's saying the media isn't going to call this quantitative easing. In 2008, they could say that because no one knew what quantitative easing was. You just heard the term and thought, oh, I didn't go to school for finance. I'll never understand this. Now people do know what that is. It's also called QE. If you ever hear QE, QE is short for quantitative easing.
Okay.
More people are hip to it. So now the media isn't going to want to say that's what's happening now. When you have quantitative easing, that's a bad sign. That's why the media doesn't want to put that out there. That means you're in trouble. During COVID, what happened? Quantitative easing. They printed money. It means you're in trouble. If you're good, why would you have to print money?
It's true.
Why would you have to buy back, as she said, $4 billion or $1 trillion in government debt? If people are wanting to buy it, you wouldn't have to buy it. That's why the media now has to get involved and spin this in a way where it doesn't alarm people. We talked about bank runs. They can't alarm people. What if we all start running to the bank to get our money?
A lot of people won't be getting their money.
A lot of people won't be getting their money. So the media is there to protect that from happening. Keep all the peasants at bay. Keep them distracted on preseason football tonight, Charlie Kirk, and all this other stuff. So they have no time, no capacity to understand what she's saying, right? Just sit at ease. Everything's fine. They really don't want a lot of this out there for that reason.
I am curious about your answer to this question here. Can we all stop? You know what?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, legally, probably not the.
I'll do this. Maybe I'll interview Brian for maybe 10 minutes and we'll talk about that 10, 15 minutes about that topic, and I'll put it on Patreon. I can't answer that question here on YouTube.
Is it even safe on Patreon? I mean, that truly is like a dangerous thing to talk about, I would think.
It is. You're right.
Just because. Yeah, that's a no-win situation, isn't it? You talk about that. You're giving them ammo to really do something to you.
That's fair. And this isn't the first time this conversation has come up or the first time I've been told that.
And it's a great question. That's not it. It's too good of a question.
I think by the way that we even just covered this now, Miss Sly, I hope that answered it for you.
Be fooled. What they're counting on people not realizing is that yield curve control was used here in the U.S. during World War II, when spending exploded and there were no buyers of debt. So what did they do? They said, we'll just buy our own debt. This will guarantee the interest rates won't rise that much because the second they do, we'll just keep buying all the debt. Which sounds great in theory. They say.
I'm hoping now the video is starting to make more sense because everything she said here, we covered. when I was explaining how the government is going to buy its own debt, as she just said, to control interest rates. That was my whole point of why that, because if no one wants the debt, the interest rates keep getting too high. So they can suppress that by, just like she said, by buying up the debt. The government isn't so much concerned if rates are too high for you and I. It affects them. They're 40 trillion in debt. What happens when those rates go up? It costs more to service that debt. Think about it, right? If the rates are 7% compared to 2%, now the government has to pay 7% on all that new debt.
Right.
So for them, it's more selfish. There's a lot of debt they owe. Short-term debt, long-term debt. Do you know right now on the government's books, debt is the third biggest expense? Social
Behind
Security, Medicare, debt.
Wait, what was the first one?
So it's Social Security, Medicare, interest, and then the military. The interest expense is higher than the military. And the military is almost 1.5 trillion. But interest is, I think, 1.1 trillion. Interest, meaning nothing, just interest. So when she's saying yield curve and controlling interest rates, that's what she means. They are trying to pull a lever to get these, the math ain't mathing, right? To get these interest rates stable, because they're no longer stable when the government can't control how much they keep going up. It makes the cost to hold some cash. Yeah, definitely hold cash. Put the money in the bank to pay your bills, buy a safe, and put the rest of the cash in the safe with gold, silver. And there's a third thing that I don't want to say. Can I spell it?
Yeah.
AMM, and it ends with a. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that should be there in the safe too. Gold,
I agree.
silver, dollars, and the other thing I just said.
Yeah, the pals.
That should be in your safe. That's your way to protect your gold, silver, and your cash. You know, you have. So that's a strategy you can do. But I am glad we spent the time talking about this, because I feel like now this video is a little easier to watch, because the things she's saying, we've kind of done our best to explain.
Which I know you didn't know I was going to play anything, but
I didn't even see
the
it.
moment I read your email, I said, why is this sounding like what I just watched just a couple of days ago? And I went back, I was like, yeah, I think this is what Brian is talking about is happening.
Oh yeah, the second I saw that headline about them buying back the debt, which was the same day as the 40 trillion, I just thought, what a perfect time to now understand this stuff, because it does feel like, as she's saying, something is closer than we thought.
Not only that, but I feel like a lot of us can feel that something's brewing, and we've been saying that for the longest. Something's brewing here in this country. That things just don't feel the same anymore. I've been saying for the longest. I think the country has been changing for some time, but especially since 2020, it's like we've been on a trajectory, or I don't even know if the word trajectory means only upward, but we've been spiraling in a completely different direction, and it's just felt like we're just all waiting for something. Unfortunately, bro. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and you wonder if that's why they've been flooding us with news.
Yes.
Because
the Tupac trial is taking place. The Charlie Kirk thing is going on, and Dr. Fauci is being interrogated by Congress, and the Lance, the what's her name, the lady that unalived her children.
Yeah,
all these things, bro, making national headlines.
Yeah. It would be a great strategy if you never wanted any of us to get into the financials. How would you ever have even a minute in the day to research this, to come on? Or why would you make a video if you know it's not going to get views?
Right.
You know, talking about whatever case you just said. I saw the same thing. I just forgot the person's name. The girl with the kids or whatever. That's going to get views. Charlie Kirk's going to get views. Don't do a 2-hour live stream on financials. That's going to get no views. Like they've created this perfect system to ensure we're not talking about it. We're not doing it. Well, here's a good comment. To understand it all, just look at what everyone owns, is owned, and owes. True.
Yeah,
So
if you if you're willing to chat, just email me. So such a short comment, but so concise but perfect. So many distractions, so little time.
you can't have time to think. That's the conclusion
Wow.
I've come to. The thing about this, we've talked about this. They don't even want you to go for a walk without music on. How do they show
Wow.
commercials? The person's walking with what? Headphones,
That's a
music.
fact.
When LeBron steps off the bus or the plane, what does he have on? Even though I don't believe he's listening to them, I think that's all part of the psyop. I really don't. I think it's part of the psyop to get you to think that's cool listening. So when or when he's driving, all of that is so you never have a minute to think. You are constantly stimulated with something, whether it's music. How many people say, "Oh, when I get in the car, I got to turn on a podcast"? Why? Why can't you drive and think? Why need a
All right.
podcast on? Why can't you listen to this video we did today and tomorrow when you go for a drive, think about some of the points we talked about and start to connect some dots? No, you can't because you got to listen to Tupac in the car or Joe Rogan or something. I truly think that's by design because your brain, it's bandwidth. The more you overstimulate your brain, the more you engineer ADD in your head, where you can never sit and focus on this because it's this constant Twitter and TikTok, and you know what I mean. Hopefully, I'm making sense, but that's how I see it. Oh, what an eye opener today! Thank you for this comment. Funny thing is, he said, "What an eye opener." We've only gotten to if I look at my outline, 15% of this. That's how
Really?
insane this system is. Maybe more than that, maybe 25%, but there's still meat left on the bone, so to speak. But, it is what it is. In the interest of time, we can't just keep going, but
Yeah, we can always do a part 2 for sure.
yeah.
Soon, by the way.
We'll just keep buying all the debt. Which sounds great in theory. They saved the system, but guess who paid? Everyday Americans. In just a few years, inflation jumped up to 18%. Can you afford if every single bill in your life jumps up another 18%? But not only that, the debt today is 10 times what it was during World War II in real terms. That means inflation adjusted, meaning that today's fallout would be...
But this is probably good. Now everything she's saying should make sense. What did she mention there? Real terms. Remember we talked about real versus nominal, adjusted for inflation. We talked about, so that's all exactly what's happening. What she's laying out here is exactly what we've covered in this video. Now, to me, at least, it makes perfect sense.
I agree.
Far worse. We could be looking at not only double-digit inflation, but far greater than 18%. What this is really telling us is that the U.S. is growing
far greater than 18%.
Yeah, because they're
what are we talking about?
Because they're going to have to print their way out of this. The only way out of this is print more money. And so to print more money, they're going to hyperinflate the currency. And by hyperinflating the currency, you're going to have higher prices. They're between a rock and a hard place. Either position is bad.
But aren't we to believe that they did this on purpose?
Oh, I wouldn't say we're to believe they did. This has been the strategy. And it's clear. This is clear.
All right.
The only way to make the rich richer is this. The rich are morons. They don't invent anything. That's all another psyop to get you thinking, oh, Jeff Bezos is so smart. He designed this whole Amazon thing. And Elon Musk is off doing none of that. They're actors. They're actors on the Truman Show playing the role of tech CEO. None of that's true.
Somebody made a video one time. They said, so you want us to believe that Elon Musk, I'm going to butcher it, but they named all the position that he works and all the inventions that he's working on and all the things that he's regulated and all the future plans he has. They're like, you want us to believe that he's doing all of this? He's coming up with all of this, and he's one person. So he designed this and he invented this, and he's running this company, and he's actually present for this company. And he's, I'm like, how? But he's also going to run Doge with Vivek Ramaswamy, but then he's also going to do this. How?
One way to connect that all these guys are installed playing the role. You ever hear of a company called InQtel? IN-Q-TEL?
No.
You're going to love this, and your audience is going to love this. Who In-Q-Tel is. It is the CIA who started, and you can just Google it. So it's not even a conspiracy. Like on Wikipedia, they'll admit this. In-Q-Tel is the CIA venture capitalist company that helps fund startups. Guess who helped fund all of these startups when they were young? In-Q-Tel. INQTEL. So why do I bring that up? Well, because that's kind of strange. If you have the CIA funding arm helping start up Facebook and Tesla and all these companies, why would that be? To create the illusion that we have all these independent companies when it's just one government entity disguised as all these different companies.
All right. They want us to believe that Mark Zuckerberg with another roommate supposedly came up with the idea of Facebook.
No, it's very eye-opening when you look into this company that I'm talking about, In-Q-Tel. It's more proof of what I'm saying here, that it's hard to believe these Musk types and all these, they're just entrepreneurs. There you go. Yes, yeah. Entrepreneurs who just figured out all of this. I don't think so. It would make far more sense if they're there playing a role. Like, why do we believe fill in the blank influencer is a installed puppet, but we never think that these CEOs would be in the same category?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't we stop and say, like you said, Zuckerberg and Bezos and Peter Thiel, they would fall right in line with that? I mean, it would be logical. If you needed to control the population, you would also need to have your CEOs in place.
Yeah, my buddy was telling me this comment resonates because my buddy, he actually mentioned to me maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and this person may even be talking about, they're talking about back in 2020. I was told 2 or 3 years ago, get into silver. Maybe it was a little longer. Maybe it was closer to 2020 when they told me. And he was like, it was like 11 an ounce or maybe cheaper. And sure freaking enough, I had so many other things going, school and working and life, that I actually never got into it. But I did lose quite a bit investing into Cardano, which was a piece of crypto. And I was really looking forward to that because it was the first thing I ever invested in. And here I am now, better late than never, looking to invest into some silver and gold.
Even if it stays the same price, the point of silver and gold isn't really to make money. It's to protect your money.
Right.
It's not, you don't view it the same as a stock. So, if today it's 65 and in 5 years it's 65, you shouldn't think that was a bad move.
The point is you've kept your money.
You've kept your money. You have something tangible. If we ever have any sort of dystopian sort of deal go down, maybe you can barter that for food. You can barter that for things you would need. If there's a collapse of society in the monetary system, your silver and gold becomes more valuable, not in a numeric way, but in a transactional way. What can you buy with it? So it's something, you shouldn't take for granted at all, and you shouldn't worry about when to buy it. Just get it. It's a shame you got burned on Cardano, because I believe crypto is just another DARPA government scam to suck in like the quote smart people. So people that think the stock market is rigged, which they are correct, guess what they got then sucked into? The alternative, which was crypto. Crypto is a genius.
I've heard that. I've heard people have told me that.
Crypto, it's a genius way to suck in smart investors. You're just hurting them in a different direction. Instead of hurting them to the stock market, you're hurting them to the crypto market.
Let's see.
More and more desperate, and that they're having to step in at a much more frequent rate. And every time throughout history that a country has had to do that, it always results in higher inflation for the citizens. Now, to be clear, what's happening today isn't technically yield curve control yet, but it is the first sign of what's to come next. And if I were you, I would be paying very close attention to what's coming next, because every dollar you have, whether that's dollars in your wallet, in your bank account, your paycheck, they could be devalued like that.
Now, that last line should now make a lot of sense, considering what we spent the last 2 hours on. Your dollars could be devalued like that, which means if they turn on the printing press tomorrow, the value of your dollars are devalued, like when they did that during COVID.
All right.
They can do that. What I say, when they put $1 in your left pocket, it's because they're taking $2 out of your right.
Where would you recommend for those that maybe do? Because I lost the comment. Somebody said, Didi, stop pretending. I would have gave you a little bit of shine. They said, Didi, stop pretending that we're the ones that need to learn when you're the only one that didn't know about this. We've known about this for years. Well, first of all, you can't speak for everybody in the chat. There's going to be people like me who are newer to this space. I'm not completely ignorant, but I do have a lot to learn when it comes to this. Most Americans, because again, the purpose of this conversation isn't just to inform people about where we currently are and where we may end up in the near future, but the purpose of this conversation is also to give a little bit of a history lesson on how we got here and how these things typically work on a granular level, right? So that's what's really, really important for us to understand. But I think something great for people to hear, Brian, if you don't mind sharing, is maybe where they can go. Again, not necessarily financial advice, YouTube. However, where it is that you may go if you were to invest in silver or gold, where would you go?
I actually don't remember the place I bought, but if you Google something like reputable gold dealers or reputable bullion, which is kind of the term for it, silver dealers, you can quickly find, because that's all I did. I just started to look up which dealers are reputable, and I made sure they're not the ones holding my gold. They're physically sending it to me. Because now a big thing is they'll say, we'll take custody of it. Custody means they'll hold it and you'll just pay them a fee. And I think that's risky. I don't know. What if something happens? So you want to make sure, A, it's reputable. B, you're getting custody. They're physically mailing it to you where you're going to hold it. And you want something like, just a basic ounce of gold. It's usually like a gold eagle, a gold buffalo, something like that. Same with silver. Obviously, gold is pricey now, but that's just the way it goes because things are so bad. When things are good, gold is cheap because people are buying stocks, people are buying government debt, people are buying all these other things. When things are bad, people are buying gold because gold is your hedge. Right. Gold is what you're doing when you're panicking that, man, the financial system's in trouble. So something like gold bullion, BULLION, you can just look. Do I invest in Bitcoin? Well, I had Bitcoin. Absolutely. I bought Bitcoin in 2016. I started buying Bitcoin. I think it was 600. The first time I bought it, maybe 600 for one Bitcoin. I think today it's around 79. I bought some in 2017, 2018. And I bought it because sometimes you buy bad things because you understand what's going to happen. So once you start putting the pieces together on Bitcoin, it does make sense to buy Bitcoin in the early days because you know what's going to happen. They're going to run it up. They're going to suck people in. Then they're going to what's called a rug pull, which is pull the rug out, and then it's going to tank. It's I bought it, and in the beginning I kind of believed it. I kind of got a little into the Bitcoin cult, and I got a little naive thinking, no, there's always that cynical part of me. And then there was that other part that I think this is legit. I think they are. And then of course, as I paid more attention and got into it more, I realized, no, it's like I said, a government, I think a DARPA scam, which we talked about military intelligence in the last, well, that's probably who created this. The military intelligence arm to suck us in and do that. So in this part says start with coins. I doubt they mean the crypto coins. Yeah, you can get silver ounce coins, which is what I have. I have a lot of those. I started buying those, I don't even know, 15 years ago, maybe. We've always had our gold and silver delivered to us. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. Because to me, you want to own that. You can't go wrong if you buy it. I have both. I have silver bars, silver coins. I wouldn't stress this too much, like which to buy, as long as you just want an ounce of it. Because I have both. I have, like I said, bars and coins. And I don't see the risk in holding some.
Didi's favorite word, granular. Yeah. How dare you? My favorite word is allegedly.
That too. And on the Bitcoin thing, I think what's scary about Bitcoin is what I start to realize is what a way to get us ready for the digital currency. Normalize and popularize a digital currency. Isn't that what Bitcoin is? So now when we get the real evil digital currency, we're already ready for it.
Right.
We're used to having a digital wallet. We're used to buying and selling a digital currency in Bitcoin. It's now crypto arena where the Lakers play, right? It's on all the, it's now in the mainstream like vernacular. So it feels like that's the path to how they get us to the evil digital currency. But it's just my suspicion.
For sure.
Liquidity is an issue in investing. So liquidity just simply means, right, the money you have available. If there's no liquidity, that means you're dry. You have no access to money. You'd be illiquid.
Right.
If there's liquidity, that means there's money. So liquidity is an issue in investing. Yeah, if you don't have the money, the accessible money, then you can't invest unless you borrow. And this is where the scam really takes shape. Someone who doesn't have the liquidity, they get sucked into borrowing money to buy stocks. That's called margin. We talked about that on a way earlier video, how I said a lot of the stock market is fake because it's on margin, which just means it's borrowed money.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something called a margin call, which means you have to pay that back. So what do you do if you don't have that money? They take your car, they take your house, they take whatever asset you used as collateral to borrow all that money. And so this is a very dangerous game people are playing right now where they're using borrowed money to get into the market because they don't have money.
What if the house is valued at $375,000 and you owe a debt of $150,000? They'll still take the house?
Probably a lien. What's called a lien.
In the
So
house,
they have a portion of it. Yeah. Or maybe your car. I mean, there's different ways they could do it. If you have other physical or currency asset, I don't know if you have money in a bank, like there's probably different ways. You hope to never be in that position.
Right.
And the way to stay out of that position is don't invest money you don't have. Then they can't take your house. If you invest 1,000 and it's your 1,000, the worst case is you lose your 1,000.
Right.
They can't come take 3,000. But there's an acronym called FOMO. It's a psychological thing. Have you heard it? FOMO stands for FOMO.
FOMO. I have heard. What does it stand for again?
FOMO. FOMO. It stands for the fear of missing out. So it's a psychological trick these evil people in charge use. All the headlines, greatest stock market, record stocks, meaning, dude, I didn't get in. I didn't get in on Tesla. Hey, mom, can you give me money? Can I go to the bank and get money? You have a fear of missing out now because you've been hypnotized. You've been MK Ultra'd into thinking I got to get in on this. And so you then take money you don't have to buy these stocks, and now you're in big trouble. That's done on purpose to you.
And it's also used like that for social media. People have the fear of missing out on TikTok. They don't want to miss the next latest trend or the latest update to a story. The latest being the Charlie Kirk one, but there are many other ones as well. I think FOMO is a really big thing on social media as well, and that's how they get people to be hooked on social media.
I never thought of it that way. Interesting.
Yeah. The fear of missing out. You don't want to, like an update to something, you got to stay scrolling. You got to keep coming back. You got to check in. And so you're always glued to your phone. And I can find myself like that as well. In fairness, I am a creator myself. So I am the person that's sort of delivering the news sometimes, but that's not a full excuse because nonetheless, I'm still a human myself. And that's why I say, like, take care of your mental health. Don't let people trick you into scrolling on Twitter all day because of the next update and you want to be the first or you want to catch it. And you feel like if you miss out for 2 weeks, you're going to feel completely disconnected from everything. You shouldn't feel like that. It's okay. It's okay not to scroll sometimes.
Yeah. Didi, I don't know if we can take a break from the comments, but one of the most major things in this whole financial Ponzi we didn't get to say, and I do think I can probably say it in 60 seconds because it's pretty straightforward. So we talked about gold. 1971, Nixon takes the U.S. off the gold standard, which means gold no longer backs dollar. That's when we start hearing the term fiat. Fiat means fake. Fiat means it's worthless. Because if there's nothing backing the dollar, now they can print dollars.
But why did he do this?
to get to where we are today. When you're backed by gold, it's a lot harder to inflate the currency and make the rich richer because you need.
What was the reason he gave?
Oh, I got it. You mean like on the surface? What was the reason? I'd have to go back and watch that interview.
Okay.
But yeah, it was 1971. I think it was in the summer of 1971 where he said we're no longer going to convert gold to dollars. No, why does it matter? Because the proof is in the pudding of what happened next. So the moment they did that, government debt was under 400 billion. Today it's 40 trillion. Let's say that again. The day they took us off the gold standard, government debt was under 400 billion. Because when you're on that standard, it's hard to excessively spend. Every dollar has to have gold. Now it's 40 trillion.
So that math is what you said 19. So that's 71 to 2026. That's about what, 60 years? Something
almost
like that.
55.
So we got about 60 years and we moved up trillions of dollars. Like,
I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't
like,
even half a trillion.
Yeah. Wait, say what?
It
No,
wasn't even half a
right.
trillion.
Exactly. So we've moved up over 40 trillion. So from 19, and to put that into perspective, so that means from 1913 to 1971, which is about 60 years, it only did about 300 and maybe 85, just under 400 billion.
And that's where World War II. Look now, countries in the middle, countries around the world get billions and billions of dollars. Here, it got to 400, whatever I said, under 400 billion. This is working. When we asked earlier, why would they do this? This is why. This is working. No one can say this isn't working. Like it's all, that's great proof of, when they do that, oh, no, I missed it. I had a few other quick notes related to this, but if I can't pull it up quick enough, we can, if you can bear with me.
No, you're fine. While you do that, I'll read the next comment.
Oh, I actually found it.
You got it.
If it's okay, quick. So I wanted further proof of why that this, how and why this is working. A couple of things I looked at: personal savings rate, essentially disposable income, right? How much extra do you have? So 1971, 13.3%. Today, 2%. It's working. 1971.
That's so embarrassing as a country, as a nation. Like, we're supposed to be the greatest nation, and
meanwhile, in the upper income class from 71 to now, that number goes up, not down. The rich got richer. The rich got richer. On the flip side, middle class adults, 71, 62%, 35% now.
Wow.
Adults living paycheck to paycheck, 21%, almost 70% now. I know I'm sounding like a broken record. It's working. You can't tell me this was just by accident. I hate when people say dumb politicians. Well, this all happened because of dumb politics. No. How can this happen if it's, and I'm not saying politicians aren't dumb, but you get my point. Right. Dumb politicians is not what you can say.
How about smart politicians?
Smart, yeah. Or puppets to smart people, however you want to think about it. But it is not, that's giving everyone an out that this happened. I just read stats that cannot happen because of dumb politicians.
Right.
We've lost like a third of our purchase. I mean, look at that. The middle class, the disposable income going from 20% to 3%. These are staggering sort of numbers when you read them. And then when is it? From gold to now. All part of it. When we looked at the burger thing, it started doing a straight line up the second they start printing money. Not even 1 year before. Right when they turn on that printing press and devalue our dollar, burger meat, ground beef rather, straight up. These are all signs that, yeah, they know what they're doing. They know how to pull this off. People now more than ever have more than one job. How would you say that's a good stat?
That's a fact.
That's a horrible stat.
That's a
It's
fact.
an absolutely horrendous stat that more than any other time people have more than one job. That means with one job, you can't afford basic living. It's not because
Compared
you're
to a
hard-
time when one job in the entire household could take care of the family.
Right. So was the stock market higher in 1971 or is it higher today when it's allegedly a record high?
Right.
It was higher in 1971.
Right.
Absolutely it was. Nominally, that's why this whole nominal thing is garbage. It's all in name only. These are all paper numbers. If we have older people in the chat, I'd love to hear from them. How was their living standard in the early 70s compared to now? Did you have 3 jobs in 1970? Were you a waiter at night and a day job and another job and 6 days a week and you had to borrow all this money? No, I don't think so. We know that. Great way to destabilize the family. Now the mother has to work. The father has to work. Everyone has to work. Financial stress leads to what? Divorce. Leads to fatherless homes. Leads to all kinds of problems. They also wanted women in the workforce so they could tax them. Absolutely. And create more divorce. The more that women are at work, the higher the divorce rate.
That's a fact.
So there's
That's a
many objectives here. It's not so much financial. I think if they hate the nuclear family, which I believe they do, these are all different levers they can pull to destabilize that nuclear family.
All right. Let's get to some of these last little super chats before we wrap this up. Thank you, Ellie, for the $10. Stop spending frivolously on the next trend. Right. I said that a lot. Learn to grow your own foods. Working on that for sure. Save seeds. Buy from locals. Boycott big companies. Most importantly, lean on God. Put good out and good will return. Very good advice.
And this is a great chat right here because this answers the question when someone says, hey, what advice are you giving for what we can do? You're just out here talking. I would point to this chat right here. These are actions that are practical. This is not something impractical you can't take. Boycott big companies. You could do that. Do you have to buy everything on Amazon? You don't have to. It's just convenient. But convenience is another road to hell.
Say that again. That's a bar.
Convenience is another road to hell. The iPhone is convenient. Is it good or bad? It's bad. Amazon is convenient. Killing mom and pop businesses was convenient because, Amazon and Walmart will give you, but road to hell. All those people are wiped out now. Convenience is how Musk is trying to put brain implant chips in people and all this stuff.
He's not trying. My understanding is that they've already started.
Actually, that is true. Yeah, they've already started.
Yeah, and people are willing to do it, allegedly.
Why won't he do it on his own kids?
Right. Same questions I have about the wars. How come they don't send their own kids to war?
Yeah, where's Barron Trump?
Right. He's young enough. He's healthy.
He's
smart.
6'12", or he can go.
Right.
Why don't he go fight?
Thank you for the $10. Study the earlier complaints about usury, exorbitant interest charge. All wars are banker wars.
Because if you have the money to fund the wars, then they're banker wars. Take away all that, and you don't have your wars.
Thank you, Gina, for the $5. I can't find Brian's channel under Brian the Auditor. Is it named something else? Is it Brian the Auditor, all one word?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the easier way would be if it's not in the description yet, maybe to do it that way.
It's in the description already, everybody.
Oh, because
you be able to find it in the
description.
description.
Click the link. Because I could see it being tough to search for, because it's brand new and there's nothing out there. But my hope would be
right here in
the
front
link.
of everybody. Brian the Auditor.
Because now that I'm new to this, I don't know if searching would work.
Let's see here.
That's a placeholder as a name. I just put any name just so we could have a channel up.
Yeah, I think
eventually I'll come up with a name and channel art and all that.
I personally feel like Brian the Auditor
Could be. Yeah.
is perfect for you, but you'll decide that. Okay. Well,
Maybe the
I've linked it. I can't pull. I don't see it either. But of course, he just started it. But
oh geez. Why would that be? Did they get rid of it already?
no, nah.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, a better way to do it is to let me go over here.
That's crazy. I would have thought the link would.
I don't know why I didn't think to do this. I can just click on it here. Now, I'm about to share the screen. And again, it's in the description, everybody. There it is.
Okay. So it does.
Yep, you almost got 200 subscribers already.
That's amazing,
So,
isn't it?
yeah, that's amazing because you'll probably have 1,000 subscribers here in the next 2 days alone.
That's incredible.
Let's see. Yeah. So there it is. There, everybody. But again, it's linked in the description. You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see it because some people have already stated in the chat that they've been able to find it. So hopefully, Jenny, you're able to get it through the chat.
And thank you.
Thank you for the $5. I like when you and Brian do shows together. Well, we'll appreciate you, and we like it when you all cooperate and support the videos. Thank you, Gina, for the $5. How long do you think we have until banks tank? I probably won't be here, but my kids, grandkids, and money will be if I can protect it before then.
Yeah. So I guess the quick short answer would be we have probably until a crisis hits. A crisis could be, as I said earlier, mass unemployment. If mass unemployment hits, people would have to run to the bank to pay their bills. And so that could be when they tank. And the goal of the people in charge is to tank the banks. They're actually pretty clear about this. In the end, they want between 2 and 4 mega banks left and knock out all the small banks to help get us into the digital currency. Because if you're vulnerable, what are you going to do? You're desperate. You will agree to what they want. In terms of how long, that stuff is always hard to say just because it's whenever they pull that final lever to tank the banks. But their own plan is to tank the banks. And I think your grandkids will be okay in a sense, as we said earlier, if they're just kind of clued into what's going on and you've got some tangible assets to help protect them. Like we said, some gold, some silver, some dollars. Another thing we didn't talk about that helps kids and grandkids, a paid off house. It's a lot harder to repossess a paid off house than a not paid off house.
Wait, why?
Well, you don't have
because there's a much larger debt to
if your house is paid off, there's no debt left.
Right.
So if you lose your job, for example, are you in panic mode if your home is paid off? Not really, because your biggest expense is your mortgage, is your rent. So someone asked about things we could do, and I forgot to mention this. That's another thing I recommend doing: getting your house paid off. It's a lot harder for them to control you if you don't have debt. There's a term, debt slave, for a reason, because when you're a debt slave, you're a slave. You're a slave to the debt. They could do anything they want to you. When you're not a debt slave, it's a lot harder for them to control you. So owning your house is a huge thing you can do to protect yourself. I should have thought of that earlier when people kept asking, what can we do? That's a big one you can do. Get out of debt. You have car debt, get out of it. Home debt, get out of it. Curb your spending on nice clothes and nice things and put it into getting out of debt. Instead of buying those new Jordans, put it toward your car, your house, like that goes a long way. And then maybe later in life, enjoy some of those nicer things. You know what? I don't judge you if you like Jordans, then buy them, but try to do it after, not before.
Thank you for the $10. Study the concept of honest ledger, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and Nash equilibrium. Robert Breedlove, What is Money? Honest Ledger. Are you familiar with this?
No, but that's one sounds very interesting. Honest ledger. And what is money sounds interesting because that's kind of what we're trying to discuss today. Like at the fundamental core level, like what is money? So
the Robert Breedlove, I think I'm familiar with. I think I've been told about this person before. Thank you for the $2. Hidden Secrets of Money. Mike Maloney. Mike Maloney. It's the person. So when I mentioned my buddy earlier, Mike Maloney is the person he was telling about. He has a YouTube channel, and he does. Matter of fact, I'm going to show it to you all. He
I haven't
does
come
this.
across
Does
that
this?
either.
Say it again.
I haven't come across this one either. I'm making note of
Oh
it.
yeah. Mike Maloney is he's the one that my buddy was telling me. And my buddy is much older. He got like 10 years on me. He was like, if you want somebody to show you how it works, it's Mike Maloney. And I knew I would know the name the moment I heard it. Here he is. This guy. Mike Maloney and
No, I haven't seen that.
yeah, he's a heavyweight. Let's see here.
Definitely check that out.
Mike Maloney's most important video ever. Helium, oil, gold, silver. Yep.
Plus, this is all right up our alley. All the
All
things
up
we're
right up the
talking
alley.
about here. Yeah, this is perfect. Like, this is the kind of content that I think just offers so much more real value than maybe some of the other things, we were saying.
See, this video here is with the person that they mentioned earlier, Mike Maloney and Chris Martinson.
Mm.
Yeah. This is, and it's one other person I can't think of it. Something tells me he has another channel though.
I'm trying to think, like, not a lot of finance channels come to mind. For one, the algorithm doesn't give us finance channels.
No, it doesn't. And what's interesting is that's for those of you who are not on the content creation side of things, just so you know, my understanding has always been the number one, because I've shared before, you can get 50,000 views on one video, 50,000 views on another video, and you don't make the same amount of money. It depends on the channel. It depends on how long the video is. But one of the most important things, it depends on the topic of the channel. And finances is the number one YouTube topic where you can make the most amount of money from it. And it's not even close.
That I didn't know. That's interesting.
If you make a video about finances and you are given financial education and you get 300,000 views on that video, the amount of money you would make compared to a person that got 300,000 views about sports or about cooking or about makeup, about beauty, it's when I say night and day, I'm saying like by thousands of dollars, night and day. That's one video. It's not even close. It's not even close. Because number one, to your point, I think they don't push them as much. So if you are able to overcome that algorithm, you are a heavyweight. Number two, it's so difficult for people to grasp it. So if that means if you are able to create a community where people are willing to come back to your channel, either because they understand it or there's something about your delivery that is causing people to come back, and people have the desire to at least attempt to learn from you, you are rewarded a lot more so on YouTube for it. Conspiracy, quote unquote, what they call conspiracy, is probably in the top 3 to 5. That's probably what my channel will fall under, for the most part. But yeah, finances is number one. That's the big dog, because it's the most difficult for people to be able to understand, let alone explain. It's one thing to even know it and understand it. To be able to explain it to people in a YouTube video in a way that they can digest it and they keep coming back, oh, you will be rewarded for it. Believe that.
But I just got to wonder, what's the ulterior motive there? Is it that, or is it these sort of mainstream finance channels they want out there to herd people again in the wrong direction?
Could
stock markets all-time high, buy SpaceX, buy Tesla, get into this, like a Jim Cramer type from CNBC. That could also be beneficial to the establishment to get people, like we said earlier, levered into the market, borrowing money, fear of missing out. So there's probably many objectives there, but I just wonder, because that's unusual that YouTube would just make something like that without a motive. Because who is YouTube? YouTube is Google. Who is Google? Well, we know who Google is. So you've got to ask yourself why.
Thank you for the $2. What gold distributors is a good one? How to Be sure. I think he answered that, but if you want
Yeah,
to
I just don't have it offhand. I could try and next time we come back. I was trying to look it up quick, but there's a lot. Anything
or
like
maybe when you
gold
find them, you can go on your channel
on my
and
channel. Yeah,
and you can
definitely.
you can go on your channel, comment under this video, and I can pin your comment. And that's another
Sure.
way people can
Good
find your
idea.
channel.
Yeah, I can post the one.
Thank you for the dollar. I already shared that. I've done a little bit of it, but I'm considering to do it in a deep dive, probably both on YouTube and probably an extended edition and or uncensored edition on Patreon. It's on my long list. I
Another
definitely would like
dangerous
to.
topic.
I've spoken about it briefly though in my Hillary Clinton video. If I can remember that, I'll link that in the description as well. I've done a video on Hillary Clinton recently in the last year, and I spoke briefly about Pizzagate stemming out of that pizza restaurant. Thank you for the $2. Where do we subscribe to Brian's channel at? Link is in the description.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the $50. Thank you both for your time, knowledge, and wisdom. You guys are definitely on the right path. Keep on keeping on. Thank you so much.
I mean, that's a great comment, and $50. Wow.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get a lot of those. So this
That's
person
incredible.
really is grateful for sure to send that. Thank you for the $5. Please use disclaimer to protect yourselves. You're only given an option, not financial advice. Yep, I've done that the entire video. We're not
Yeah,
giving financial advice. We're not giving financial advice. We're not giving financial advice. We're only talking about things that we've done in the past and hypotheticals.
definitely. Yeah.
Thank you for the $2. Maloney is buddies with Martinson. Absolutely. Honest Ledger. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming they speak about Honest Ledger over on that channel. So that is something to check out. Okay. I have somewhere to be here in the next 20 minutes. So, Brian, if you would like to give some final words, some final pieces of advice that are not financial,
Uh,
the floor is yours.
no, yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, maybe it's that advice. I guess more because anything we get into this topic takes time. So I know we're out of time. I hope I did a good job. I'll say it that way. This is definitely a heavy lift to come on and try and do it this way. I didn't get to do exactly my outline, but we used the video and did the best I could to explain everything. There's still more that we could get into, but hopefully I can see the comments and see what people think. And based on the super chats, I got to think we added some sort of value here. But in terms of the live comments, I never got a chance to look because I was kind of so focused on, talking and explaining.
Yes, I'd agree, and
That's all
I'll
I'd
just
say.
say I'm glad that we were not able to get to or only get to like less than half of your content, because this is a way for us to know what the audience is feeling, what they want to hear, and maybe some adjustments, if any, that we can make so that it's more digestible and or an enjoyable experience for those that may easily become overwhelmed with these sort of topics, let alone bored with these type of topics. This is important because if there's another 60%, another 80% to talk about with your content with these sort of constructive criticisms that we'll receive, we can make that adjustment for the part 2, because there will be a part 2 regardless of what the comments say, but we can make adjustments accordingly so that it can reach, because we're already going to fight against the algorithm, because number one, people won't be as quick to click on a video about finances, but number two, because of that reason, the algorithm will not push it. So, but the beautiful thing also about the internet is that even though they won't push it, we have things like shorts, so we can always clip it and reach people that way. So
yeah, maybe visuals and maybe more charts. And this
exactly.
one, we only showed the ground beef chart. Maybe that could be criticism we hear. We would like to see more graphs, more charts, and that's great. I can make charts. I can find them on the internet. Maybe someone says more real life examples. I tried to make it relatable. I brought up the baseball cards analogy, for example, or how it affects your mortgage. Maybe I need to be more mindful of things. All those things could help for a better video. But
and the last thing I'll say is, if it's better for you all to see this, if it's better for you all to see part 2 in a pre-recorded video where I just edit it. I talk with Brian myself in private, and then I just present it to you all as an already finished product. If that's a lot more digestible, let us know that as well down below in the comments once the live ends. If you send the comment right now, we will not see it once I end the live. So thank you all once again. Brian, thank you. As always, I know it's a Friday night, and so you people be safe. Don't know what your plans are. I also want to be in 20 minutes, and I'm already tired. I'm ready to lay down and go to sleep.
This was tough material. I don't blame you. It's definitely
but also very long day for me. I got a lot of moving parts. So yeah. Anyways,
so Didi, I hope it was helpful for you as well. I know we asked the
Yes.
audience, but my hope was you get something, you learn. You asked a lot of good questions, and I just hope
I was gonna
food for
say
thought type thing. You know,
I was
that
gonna
you
say I
can-
feel like you already know the answer to that because I was asking a lot of questions, things I didn't know, things I didn't understand. One would think that it's basic, but it's not really basic if you never really spent time thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so how does it work exactly? Why is it that if someone is buying our debt, why is it that we are suffering for it? And now I better understand the interest piece of it, because I always think, well, is there a way, or are there examples where we don't maybe feel the consequences of the feds? But after you explained it, my current thought process is probably as close to impossible as it could be, because it's all one and the same, you know?
That's good. You just have more to think about. That's when you really do the learning, not so much in the real moment. It's these aha moments. Like maybe later you're having dinner and something just clicks. At least that's how it works for me.
Mhm.
As you're absorbing a lot of heavy stuff like this, or you're just thinking about something, you'd be surprised over time how many, and same for the audience, some of this just starts to click. That's kind of what happened to me. It was never an overnight thing. It's not like I just watched the video and I
Right.
started figuring this out. So yeah, so keep that in mind. And no one can kick themselves for not understanding this. That's unfair. This all takes a lot of time.
I agree. All right. Well, I'm gonna get up out of here. Brian, once again, thank you for your time. Audience, thank you for your time. You all have a great rest of your night. Subscribe to Brian's channel. Once again, you can find it in the description, and you will also be able to find him pinned in the comment section with some other pieces of important information. So with that, you all have a great night.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.